Hello, and welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, the Silence of Shadows, Season 2 of our Sounds of Silence series. Hello, and welcome. So, those of you who don't know, this is Roll For It, when a number of us YouTubers and streamers get together to play some lovely tabletop RPGs. Of course, today we are playing Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Just decrease the volume of that. That's a little bit loud. This is our Season 2 premiere. It's the opening of Season 2. If you have not watched the first season, you should probably be okay diving in, but it is available on our YouTube channel. The first season is The Sound of Silence. Second season is The Silence of Shadows. So, we've got a lot of little announcements to do, so I'm going to try and go through them pretty quick. I will probably also need to do a disclaimer, considering what we're going to be doing. So we're going to start off with a few announcements. Firstly, this is actually going to be premiered on YouTube tomorrow. We're actually going to do a YouTube premiere. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube in the premiere, hi, we're not live. This is a YouTube premiere. It's a video that happens to have a chat, and we should, in theory, be in the chat as well, chatting along, so you can sort of respond to it in real time after time. It's weird. It's something in between a live stream and an actual video, but it is a video, so don't worry, we aren't live right now if you're watching on YouTube. Anyway, hi, that'll be tomorrow if you want to check it out. So, we will be doing that. In addition, YouTube memberships are now live on the channel. You can check them out if you wish. They get access to like the Discord and stuff, so do check those out if you wish. There's also Game of Thrones stuff going up on the Patreon. All the character sheets are now up. And today's supporting Vampire the Masquerade Season 2, Episode 1, is Caldi. So Caldi, thank you very much for making it possible for doing this today. Thank you. Also, I know I have a giant green blob that I will deal with. Things have happened. So, other announcements, I think tomorrow, Shadowrun's going to be slightly different. We're going to be having a conversation and a talk, so we've got a few people going to be sitting down, and we're going to be discussing Shadowrun, the new edition. I think that's it for the announcements. So we're going to go quickly through how you can support the show, and then we'll dive in. Firstly, if you want to support the show, you can do so by going to Patreon, patreon.com/rollforit. There's different tiers, there's different rewards, stuff like access to Discord, after shows, then there's stuff like behind-the-scenes information, character sheets for players, which are probably going to be a little bit delayed for VTM because we've got some surprises in store, in addition to GM information, behind-the-scenes information of enemies, occasional polls, and of course the hero tier and so on, where you get access to stuff like making NPC names that get involved in the show. Or getting killed, which happens quite a lot, especially when I'm a GM. And then there's the Legend tier, where you get to play once monthly in a game GM by a member of the Roll For It cast. Dot's done a number of those recently. Have they been going well?
Yeah. We did, we played Kids on Bikes last month.
How did that go?
It was great. It was basically they were on break or holiday from school, and they had to go fight the creepy things happen at Chanky Cheese. It was great. They fought like an automatonic cheese block. It was great. They killed it. Nobody was scarred or anything. Yeah. Just
emotionally?
Sounds horrifying. I was about to say emotionally scarring, maybe.
It's fine.
They'll be like not eating cheese the rest of their life. That is terrible.
They made friends with the other automatron that didn't make the cut, who was Polly Pizza.
That's a great name.
These are the sort of things available on the Patreon. Anyway, there's also Twitch. You can subscribe. You get access to Discord. You also get access to the VODs for the go over on YouTube 24 hours. And you get lovely emotes and stuff. And in addition, of course, there's YouTube membership, apparently, which is a thing now. And if you want, you can tell people about the show and spread the tale, especially because this is Vampire the Masquerade Season 2. It'd be really good to get the word out there. So if you want to tell people about the show, I don't know whether that means going on Reddit or Twitter or wherever you want to do it, just tell people about it. I mean, you could just literally go out and tell people about it in real life. Also, you can also
Nerta
gift subs.
Tier 1 subs.
That's a lot of Tier 1 subs. Thank you, Nerta. Everyone who just got given a sub, feel free to go on Discord and integrate.
Everybody.
Yeah. Damn. Between you and Caldi, everyone watching is going to be a sub by this point. So yeah, if you want to, people who just got subbed thanks to Nerta, go on the Discord, and then you can thank Nerta on the Discord. Thank you very much. Right. I believe that covers most things. Oh, and tips and bits. They happen to go in the thing down there. So, quick disclaimer. And a small note. I believe that Masters did a special spiel to start off today with. If you wish to go check that out, that'll be available on the Patreon for everyone to check out for free, just in case you want to recheck something he said. You like, wait, what? That'll be on the Patreon, so go feel free to check that out afterwards. But disclaimer:
There will be spelling errors.
It was done at 5 a.m. my time, so it's midnight you.
Like the last third of it, half of it was definitely done at like 2 a.m. my time.
Go check that out. So, disclaimer. Hi, welcome to Vampire the Masquerade. Now, by default, Vampire the Masquerade is a game of horror. Personal horror, which can be dramatic horror, or it can be body horror, or all kinds of horror in between. Generally, you do not play nice people. In fact, a big function of Vampire the Masquerade is playing someone who struggles with the beast, and the beast is not nice. We are playing characters, we are not our characters, so please don't hold what our characters do against us as actual actors, I guess, so much as just hold the characters accountable. Also, please bear in mind we'll be touching on a lot of very difficult and awkward topics, ranging from stuff like murder to even more weird stuff. And that is because the setting is very, very dark. If that's a problem for you, feel free to just take a break if these things come up, if you want to just mute the stream for a bit, or go make a cup of tea, or maybe even, skip a show if you need to. Don't really need to force yourself to watch a show if it's going to cause you personal damage, but take care of yourself, that comes first. Anyway, with that said, with a lot of intrepidation, Mathis, take it away for Season 2.
Welcome back, everybody. It's been a while. I think we've all been looking forward to this, but before we get going, a few things that I want to address at the very top here, because, we're kind of easing into Season 2 here. First, between last season and this season, Chicago by Night ended up coming out. And which is funny because Season 1 took place in Chicago. And the way Chicago ended up in Season 1 is not quite in line with how Chicago by Night has their Chicago. So if there are people who are curious about how this Chicago and their Chicago is going to line up, understand that there are going to be bits that are similar and entire swaths that are wildly and drastically different. So don't come into here with preconceptions of how the city is going to run. Watch Season 1 to see why that's the case. As far as Season 1 and going into Season 2, some big important theme shifts that are going to happen here. In Season 1, it was about our coterie kind of coming into Chicago, coming into their own, learning how things work in kindred life. Season 2 is going to be, for lack of a better term, more ruthless. This is a true cameraless city now, a world where kindred are to be held by laws, to follow and obey, and to never breach the masquerade, and that comes with deathly consequences. But our coterie has also had 10 years to mature. So, ideally, their own personal goals, their own personal ambitions, their own personal code of laws has solidified over that 10 years. This is a world where territory and feeding is going to be much, much more important than it was in Season 1. Politics is afoot again. Beyond that, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's dive in. Season 2. Our camera opens quite simply on a dark, foggy street. Most of the street lights are out. Somewhere near the coast. The fog is thick. You can smell the water in the air. You can see the water a few blocks down, just out of sight. And as the camera barrels its way down the street, it stops short. A small building, one family. Quiet, well kept. Lawn, freshly cut. Paint on the building itself, looking new. And as we find ourselves crawling up the lawn of this particular building, slipping under the door, and winding our way through a rather empty home, we eep towards the basement, down the stairs. It's pitch black, but you can hear something in the darkness. Breathing. Yes, that's definitely breathing. But only of one. But there are the sounds of two down here. And as we make our way into the darkness and we hear that breathing grow louder, one light bulb that dangles from a single wire in this unfinished basement flickers to life. But only such barely, showing only silhouettes in the darkness. Two. One stands. He paces back and forth, a book in his hand, reading something. His hair, shoulder length, straight and pitch black. Narrow glasses that cover the brim of his nose, as he reads this book, and a long, elegant trench coat dangles by his knees. He looks up at this person who sits in the chair before him, tied up. A woman, maybe. There's fear in her eyes, certainly. Tears are welling, and the wideness of them watches him as he paces back and forth slowly. The breathing is coming from her, but he does not. He stops for a moment, faces her, looks at her for a good 3 or 4 seconds before beginning to speak very openly. Now, tell me, how does a city on the brink of Camarilla collapse, with the anarchs up their ass, no prince, and a batch of 4 new licks who are louder than any of the lupines in the area, return to power in a short decade? And don't you fucking lie to me. Remember, I'm smarter than you anyway. Last I remember, only a few kindred held any real power here. Now, all of a sudden, a brand new Toreador prince takes hold, invites Lasombra openly during an Elysium event, even. And even if kindred wanted to do something about the Lasombra, there was fear of Anarch and Sabbat coursing through their veins every night. It was constantly talked about. Smart play by your princess. What are the kindred going to do about it at that point? They can't truly step across and stop the Lasombra when they're worried that their borders are being encroached by barbarians. Hell, maybe it was a smart move, even if rumors are true about New York. Still got to head out that way and check for myself, though. And so over the course of 5 short years, Chicago went from no prince to an incredibly powerful one. A dysfunctional Primogen council to a full board. Norris was hilariously diablerized. Poetic justice, if you ask me, but some of the blue bloods were a little upset about it. And some blue blood, named Cammy, was appointed in his place. Haven't fully fleshed that one out yet, but I'm working on it. And rumors are that Norris took her body for himself, and he's just playing it off well, pretending to be a sexy young woman. I'd pay to see that. But Norris always had an ever-flowing river of golden shit spewing out of his mouth, so I wouldn't put it past him. He's capable of such things. But hey, all that, he shakes his head. Not out of the ordinary for kindred every few decades or centuries. And Chicago was weaker than most. It ain't surprising someone grabbed power. No. See, what's surprising is what came afterward. To further punish the Ventrue, Bella shuffled some things around. The Ventrue were moved from the near north side and put into the lower west side. Shit, that must have really pissed him off. Except for Cammy, though. She, the betrayer, or the deal maker, depending on who's talking, still has a nice haven in downtown Chicago. But ask any of the Ventrue how they feel about being where they are, and not a single one of them will bitch at you, I promise you that. But if you got a good nose on you, you could probably smell the bullshit on their breath. Dig deep enough and you can see them at work. Yeah, you think they're gentrifying the lower west side of the kindness of their hearts? No. Every contact they had when they were in the near north side, they still have. And their pockets are as deep as the abyss itself. Bella thinks she's punishing them, all while they're building a second kingdom out in the open. Punishment my ass. And the Malks, those broken mirror fucks can't agree on anything except that they despise being in the north side now. Now you ask me, most kindred should love it. Plenty of food, you're at the doorstep of power, but the Malks enjoyed their privacy and keep yelling about mirror shards and border incursions. Whatever the fuck that means. Also, being stuck between the Toreador and Bruja territories is certainly infuriating. Word is the twins openly shout about their displeasure when the council convenes, but they still have their place on the council, so either they're doing good work or Bella has a use for them. But they're Malks, so Bella could have offered them a chance to step down and they might have denied it no matter how mad they are. You don't really understand how they work. Meanwhile, the Tremere ended up stepping down from the council I have written here. Their numbers began to thin and march west as the Camarilla started to hold Chicago. Leaving Persephone very little choice, she ended up stepping down. Though I have a feeling it would have happened either way if she didn't. I'm sure Bella would have had her removed. Persephone saw the writing on the wall. More fitting. She's been obsessing over her books and studies more than usual lately, but what blood mage isn't nowadays? And her new lackey, Zach wasn't one of the 4 licks that fucked things up nearly nightly, right? A caitiff working with the blood mage. What do you think he wants out of it? I put my money on him being a mindless drone or a pile of dust when they're through. You only trust Tremere on one thing and one thing only, and that's their lust for power. Don't forget that. The question is, what does Persephone want? And what does she want out of a caitiff? A question for another day. In the Bruja, they finally got a proper seat in the council after Bella sat as prince, at least. Of all kindred, though, Cretius is the one to get the seat. A genius mind, though, and real good to talk to you if you ever get the chance. I highly recommend it. He'll have your head spinning in minutes, I'm sure. All deserved to, seeing how they've had one of them as their sheriff for a few decades now. I think it was Max who never really allowed them to sit, though hell knows why. Maybe a personal grudge against the clan, a scorned lover left to meet the sun at their hands, or fear that they'd add nothing and only add chaos. Point is, Bella gave him what Max wouldn't, and seated them shortly on the council after Persephone ended up leaving. The Ventrue were moved, and while the Malks ain't the best neighbors, from what I hear, the Bruja are happy as a pig in shit with their newfound respect out of the Camarilla. Now, calling a Bruja loyal is a bit too far, but they certainly have been happy with Bella so far, so they act in tow. Maybe her move of the Ventrue wasn't so stupid for a few reasons. The Nos are ever the same. Sewers are their turf, and I can't imagine that'll change. So that butcher guy, one of the 4, wasn't he given a bar in Ventrue territory shortly after the Ventrue were moved? Another spit in the face of the clan. I think it's clear who's looked down on the clan in Chicago. Smart, though. Find a common enemy and all the others will focus their gaze on them instead of you. But if anything, it's still dangerous. It could get her killed. She doesn't watch her back. It's kindred politics, though. His bar, I hear it's on the edge of Chinatown. Rather out of the way, though. Might be a while before the Ventrue start knocking on his door and attempt anything. Rumor is the local homeless defend his bar, too. Never underestimate the local wildlife. Now, whether you think Butcher is a genius or a moron for having a bar out in Ventrue territory, that's not for me to decide. Chinatown. Now, there's an interesting story. That belongs to the Tremere. But a few kindred ended up going missing around the time Bella took hold. Coincidence or something more nefarious, no one really knows. I think the Blood Mages actually did some poking around too, and whoever they sent in didn't come back except for one. Whatever the case, Bella agreed to the Tremere's rules that shutting down Chinatown was the way to go. The only ones allowed in are ghouls, and even then, only on typical mortal business. No kindred in, no kindred out. It's been the law. Follow it. Then there are the Gangrel. Personal favorite of mine. And he smiles. A bunch came from the east and stuck around. The Lupines have been acting up again in the west, so it ain't much of a surprise some Gangrel stuck. Hell, enough stayed to nab him a seat on the council. I think it was Rosa, right? God, she hates werewolves. The few times we've spoken, that's all she's ever blabbed about. But if they're starting shit, Bella's smart to a point, or even if she keeps her at arm's length. Pisses Rosa off, though. Heard she almost lost control of the beast during a heated argument when some werewolves took Midway Airport. Rosa wants to take them out, but Bella is hesitant to act. But what's hesitant to a heated gangrel might just be patience to anyone else. A lesson Dakota has apparently learned to some degree. A good dog with a shining gold leash attached to her. Though ask any gangrel who doesn't align themselves with the cam, and chances are you'll hear about how they plan to tear off Dakota's head for being an asshole, sniffing, belly-exposing weak bitch. Maybe they're right, maybe they're not. But she's still alive, so maybe she made the right choice. Oh, and the other airport, O'Hare, that place is crawling with feds. Stay away. Maybe that's why Her Royal Highness is refusing any new kindred within Chicago's border for anything longer than a week at this point. A real lockdown. And last but not least, our dear royal-blooded Toreador. Siana was removed from the council out of necessity, I have written here. Well, that and a lot of underlying distrust when the prince has one of their own clan on the council. A bit unnecessary unless you love making enemies. Instead, she's keeper of Elysium. Fitting. Though others of her clan are quietly angry, believing Siana had her chance and made her big mistake by siring Ava after everything Ava had done. The last of the 4 loud ones. Then again, Siana made it clear as day that if it weren't for Ava, the city might have crumbled by now. And wasn't it Siana that ensured the public knew about the gas leak and the unfortunate gang drive-by shooting near that orphanage that ended up in an explosion and the death of a bunch of kids? Such a shame. But hey, at least those gang members are behind bars now. As Siana is Bella's lapdog, then Ava is Siana's. Chances are, if you see one, you see the other. Taking notes, grabbing coffee, fucking low-level political people to blackmail later, throwing parties. You know, typical disgusting Toreador nonsense. And on top of all of that, a couple of Sombra have made Chicago home. Though they hold no power and the actions they took to be allowed to reside here were costly. Moreover, Bella outlawed any use of Oblivion, claiming danger to all kind and kindred. If you ask me, that suggestion probably came straight from the Chantry. The Anarchs ended up losing a huge chunk of land in the early on, didn't they? They've gone quiet recently. Might have to check that out myself. And that ain't even half of it. Border tensions, crime at an all-time high, and the Second Inquisition crawling the streets, all while new lords take old claims on territory and others on new, and rule as they see fit. The entire East Village was dictated royal hunting grounds. It's like the Camarilla never truly was on the brink of collapse. Now all that shit is normal over the course of 5 decades. But one, now how the hell does that happen? As he finishes his words, the woman who is watching, her eyes, tears streaking down her face, looks confused. She attempts to say something, but it's left muffled before a quiet thump. And then another thump, but louder, as the camera pulls up the basement stairs. And as it makes its way to the front door where the thumping is coming, we cut. Time rewinds ever so slightly, and we find ourselves in a car, driving down that foggy road. Those lights illuminate as the car passes by, and in the driver window you see 2 familiar figures. At the wheel, who's driving? Zach or Dakota? I imagine it's Zach.
Probably. I wouldn't probably let Dakota drive.
As the lights pass by and illuminate Zach's face and Dakota's face, please, what does Zach look like after 10 long years?
Zach's pretty similar to how he was before. Looks vaguely late 20s, maybe early 30s, pale. His eyes are a very vivid blue. His hair's now shot through with the faintest tinges of grey dispersed through the front. He's wearing a black shirt with a silver pendant, which is kind of a deep red right now, gleaming in the light. His waistcoat is a dark blue. Decent quality along with the shirt, but he's got a somewhat more middling quality overcoat just piled in the back seat. He's got a small bag which he keeps in the footwell, and he's probably still got a holster on his back.
And beside him, riding shotgun, another familiar face, though perhaps looking slightly different than last you remember. The violent, virulent, destructive Dakota. And what does our dear Dakota look like now?
Dakota wears kind of a short crop top held on by what looks to be like hand-sewn like buckles, along with matching pants. It's like if you took claws and ripped them open down the sides and reattached them. She's wearing kind of a dark hood that's not attached to a jacket anymore. And she covers her arms kind of in an open, sliced elbow glove. Her boots are short, but with fur around the top. And she wears more black eyeliner, still unsure how to put it on after 10 years.
Really? Still 10 years later? She doesn't know how to
she's still
apply
practicing. She's not sure she's got it yet.
Fair enough.
And her dreads are important. She's gained almost twice as many. Over the years, she has taken hair and teeth and pieces from her victims and sewn them in, and so her dreads are an amalgamation of her history.
It's good to see the two of you. Now, perhaps as expected, tonight hasn't gone according to plan. The plan over the past 5 years was to slowly lure a very particular somebody far from the East Coast, if that's where he was, and to draw him to Chicago. A man by the name of Jim. A man Dakota has a very personal grudge against. Her father. Tonight was the night they were supposed to meet. Dakota was to be on her boat in the middle of the lake with him by now. But there's barely over an hour left of night before dawn rises, and he wasn't where he was supposed to be. Now, Zach has built quite a web of contacts over 10 years, so locating him wasn't impossible. It was only a matter of time. Through some strings being pulled, conversations in some dark alleys, and a few deals made, eventually you tracked him down. Jim is in a house on this street, surprisingly not terribly far from Dakota's boat, but about a 30-minute drive, making it difficult to get him back. But he is here, and you're not entirely sure how long he'll be here. And so we find our two speeding down the road for this house. Eventually, on the right-hand side, a small one-floor building with freshly cut grass, looking rather new on the outside. This is your destination. This is where he is. As the car pulls to a stop, the two of you pop out and shut the doors. No cops in the area. Everybody's asleep for the night. You can make this quick if this is where he is. Quiet. That's up to you, if you would like them with you, Dakota.
Yeah, I'd like to be in the back seat.
As you see the two of them step out of the car and shut the back doors, what you see is Dakota, as Zach steps onto the sidewalk, head to the back and pop open one of the doors. And out of that door is two large, hulking animals. Climb out. Would you like to describe what they look like, Dakota?
Yeah, there are two pit bulls. One gray pit bull, kind of short and stocky, square around the edges. And then there's a larger one that's more white, also very beefy and square of jaw. And they get out together.
They're wagging their tails. I'm assuming are they typical cropped ears, cut tail, or are they all natural pit bulls? What would you prefer?
My thought was, well, they were gifted, right? So I don't exactly know where she got them, but if they came out of fighting pits, which is where Dakota would have asked for them to
then they would have had cropped ears and
they would
stuff.
have had cropped ears, yeah.
So you see their stubby little tails wagging as they step out of the car, but quickly it ceases as they begin to smell the air and follow you loyally. Zach's already walking up to the front door, feeling to see if it's locked, looking to see if there are any notable traps or security, but it looks clean. No security cameras, no security signs. As you feel for the door, it is clearly locked. You try maybe checking a window, also locked. The back door's locked. But as you peer through the windows, you don't see any signs of movement or life. Before long, the decision is either leave or crack the door down. I imagine Dakota, very simply, can crack this door if she so chooses.
Yeah.
Or Zach could attempt to pick the lock if he wishes.
I mean, Dakota's following Zach on this. She's simply here for the kills, so...
So then, the narration stops as Zach feels for the lock, realizes it's locked, and Dakota finishes walking up the sidewalk, looking to Zach expectantly. 1 hour of night left before danger starts. The time begins now. The clock is ticking. What do you do?
How far to the boat, you said?
About 30-minute drive.
30 minutes.
This is your gig, D. How are you gonna play it?
Is this a quiet neighborhood? Would it be odd at this time of night to hear like a door cracking?
Yes, it would absolutely be odd. But as you look, maybe, to see if the houses are slammed up next to each other, unlike downtown Chicago, where it's concrete building next to concrete building, there's space between these buildings. There's yard, suburbia. If you're quiet enough, you could probably crack it.
Is this the only exit out of the house?
The back door as well, but it's also locked.
Okay.
Would you like to crack it?
Yeah, let me crack the door. I am gonna crack it open.
Strength plus brawl check.
Yeah, yes, I am.
And so we hear a thud. And as we see Dakota level her shoulder into the door, the camera zooms past the door and back down into the basement of this building. He looks up as the first thud happens and then looks down. My time has come. But I think your story is only about to begin. I'll check in later. And he smiles. And a few loud cracks and pops as you watch this man slowly shape shift. His bones contract and his skin sprouts clumps of fur very slowly over his arms, his fingers becoming as small as mice. And he crunches down into a tiny rat. He squeaks and scurries off into a hole. Thud again as the camera zooms back up the stairs. And with one last thud, you see the door handle go limp and the door crack open as moonlight fills and spills into the hallway, illuminating the pictures of the family hanging on the walls and a nicely waxed wooden floor. Bingo, you're in.
I look to the puppers. Stay.
They
On the
sit
porch.
obediently.
Great. I look to Zach. I'm like, come on.
We've broken the door. It's a home invasion now.
Well, you said he'd show up and he didn't.
Is there anything around that looks like baseball bat, knife, something?
So you end up going into the house, into the hallway, and I imagine letting the door kind of close behind you as it limply collides with where the doorknob once met the wall and stays shut, but not fully. And so you want to do an investigation of the area?
Just looking around very quickly, is there anything that looks like it could be used in a home invasion to hurt someone?
Absolutely. Let's doing a quick look. Wits awareness. Both of you, if you both want to look.
Nope.
Dakota? 3. Zach, a quick look around, and you don't see anything of note. No baseball bat, no knife lying around. But at the same time, you're on edge. This is not how tonight was supposed to go, and while things don't always go according to plan, sometimes when the night is late and the sun is on the verge of rising, it can get a little worrisome. Dakota, you also look around and realize more than that. While there's no evidence of home invasion, as you walk down the hallway and your heavy steps and your steel-toed boots echo through the hall, you see, with your heightened kindred senses as they are, a thin layer of dust covering the pictures. This place hasn't been used properly in some time.
Remind me again why he's here. I kind of look to Zach. How did you know?
A contact of a contact. He was at a casino earlier, spending all of his money. He went home with some girl.
He went home with a girl.
Well, this place hasn't been touched in a while.
You're spending the last of your inheritance.
As she points that out, Zach, you take note of the dust. It's also on the pictures. You see it on pretty much everything here. And if you inspect the floor, you don't see any disturbances.
Wanna bet he's hiding downstairs?
Probably. But this place is covered in dust, which makes tracks easy to pick up. Can you kill him cleanly?
No. How clean? On a scale of like, what to what?
Knowing you, not clean enough.
I could let the dogs eat him.
Better. maybe try that one. We can always pretend it was... Why would a dog break down the door?
I mean, oh. I like whisper, what do you want from me here, Zach? I was gonna drown him, and here we are in Spurbia fucking hell. The sun's about to come up, and he's nowhere to be found.
Is the kitchen a normal kitchen?
A normal kitchen, but like the rest of the hallway, at least a thin layer of dust over everything. What's the plan? Explore every room, go to the basement, or leave?
Find him, restrain him, bring him to me. I'll make him cause a scene, and then you can deal with him. Okay.
Fine.
If you want to do it messily, that's your job, but you got permission from the prince.
I did.
Liar. Thought you said you didn't.
No, I did.
Okay,
I
you
got
went through
permission.
with it? I thought we had a conversation where you said you'd ended up not.
No. I went through with it, and I told him Zach was involved.
That's fine.
No, she's.
And so the hammer and the handkerchief begin walking through the building. Each room is explored before eventually the only room left is the basement. The door to the basement is slightly ajar as Dakota approaches. It's the only place left. If he's going to be anywhere, it's going to be down fucking here. So you creak the door open and begin to walk down the wooden steps. It's dark. Very dark. But you smell something.
Oh, I should be able to see in the dark.
And
My eyes.
Mm-hmm. And as you make your way down the stairs, the smell is sweat and tears. You smell the salt in the air very slightly. As your eyes adjust and that pitch black becomes visible, you see two figures down here. One tied to a chair, gagged, with tears streaming down her face. She tries to say something, but she can't. And the other, a familiar man lying on the ground, stripped down to his underwear, and a needle hanging out of his arm, unconscious. You're not sure if he's breathing, but he lies there. A face that brings back rage, anger. That last night you saw him, the things he did to you, and the things he did to your namesake. It sits in front of you. In your stomach, you can feel the cage that holds the beast rattling. Killing him now would be perfect. Justice long overdue. And while the 10 years it's been since you've seen him have certainly aged him more than you expected, all those memories come flooding back. Dakota, my dear, dear Dakota, I need a fury frenzy roll from you.
Do you have difficulty level? Just make it.
Hang on, I'll get it real quick.
Holding my breath.
You don't need to breathe, you're a kindred, Dakota.
Well, Dot's holding her breath, okay?
Also, I highly recommend this DM screen is phenomenal.
Oh, that's cool.
I do love the art.
Oh, neat.
Oh, yeah, it's like your short reference guide. That's fucking cool.
Yeah,
Okay, I do
It's a
have
difficulty of 4.
difficulty of 4. I do have, no, she's here to do this. Why would she even bother with that? Here we go. Frenzy!
Dakota, you are a gangrel. Do you ride the wave?
Yeah.
Then take it away.
You said there's a woman, there's somebody tied up. I recognize that.
You
There,
don't recognize that face. And then there's your,
Right.
and there's him
And
on the
that's it.
floor.
there's nobody else in this room. Okay.
Just the two of them.
I walk over, and pick him up by his neck.
His body limply lifts off the ground like a wooden marionette in your hands. You forgot how strong you are now. And there's a part of you that when you reached for him, imagined him being as heavy as cement, immovable, indestructible, the tool and instrument of your terror, the reason you are as you are today. But he is weightless in your hand as the beast snarls.
I'm guessing, Zach, you see all this go down.
Zach begins to make his way down the stairs as you lift the body off the ground. Zach, you see a similar sight, the woman in the chair and an unconscious man in her hands.
I also have Sense the Beast, so I know exactly what's happening with Dakota, so I'm going to skip dealing with that. I'm just going to go for the woman and get her out.
You do know, Zach, that while you have the means of contacting people to help clean this mess up, she's about to make it very difficult for them.
I don't have any way to really calm her or anything.
Just something that would come into your mind. This was also to be expected to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as I know, by the way, there's no way to really reach someone who's frenzying, right? They just frenzy. So.
Does Zach watch? Does he step away?
No, Zach's gonna deal. He's gonna get the woman. He's gonna get her off the chair, take her upstairs. He's also gonna say forget, so that she can't form memories for a short while and to erase the last 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Take her upstairs.
You walk over to the woman in the chair, and she, as she's watching this happen, you approach almost silently. She doesn't realize you're there for a few minutes until you put a hand on her to pick her up, and she snaps to you, her eyes locked to yours, in a simple word, forget. And that terrored look goes blank as you lift her. She too, light in your arms. And you begin to slowly walk up the stairs, the camera fixed at the top as we see Zach walking towards it, in the silhouette of a figure holding another. Zach walks past the camera and into view. Dakota comes again, the focus of the shot, center of attention. Dakota continuing.
She hangs his limp body up in the air so that they're face to face. She talks to him regardless of whether or not he's actually awake. It's funny. You would be the asshole in your underwear on the night you die. And kind of shake him, hoping he'd wake up a little bit.
Give me a strength plus brawl check.
I don't shake him too hard, do I?
You are frenzying.
Yeah!
And as you say that, and you snarl at him, that quiet rage, we've all felt that rage. The one that blinds us for a moment. The one that consumes us utterly. The difference is, when that rage ends, you typically don't feel any more satisfied than when you did when it began. Maybe you even feel more frustrated. But for a kindred, that rage is the beast. And any time it gets a chance to strike forward, you end up feeling satisfied. And so you speak these words to him, to his lifeless, overdosed body, hoping he's not a corpse yet. And you shake. But that shake turns into more. Your hand around his throat, it becomes something that you hope wakes him up to something that you know is going to kill him. But what better fitting death than to be in your hands, in his underwear, unconscious, unaware that his daughter was ever still alive, never to have the satisfaction of killing you himself. Because you are going to kill him now. And so as you shake, it continues harder and harder, before eventually his arms and legs are wildly flailing, and a loud snap emanates from his body as his head lags to the side, and what little breath was coming from his nose stops. If he wasn't dead before, he is now. Cleaner than you expected.
Shit. I toss his body against a wall.
It hits the wall and slides down with a thickening.
Wasn't done. I kind of grunt a little bit.
No, you're not. As the body hits and you say, I wasn't done, you shout, scream, bare your fangs. You see the claws on your hands have extended. You've lost control. And a gangrel losing control comes with repercussions.
Okay.
Those claws, those animalistic features, they won't be going away anytime soon. Dakota, you go from 5 humanity to 4. You now suffer a -2 on all rolls with mortals regardless of the instance.
Okay. Done.
Eventually, that blinding rage settles. The satisfaction that he's dead sits squarely in your core, and your beast is pleased. However, it feels as though that the cage that holds the beast has gotten slightly weaker. It's so easy to give in. Fuck, it feels good every time. What do you do now?
If it feels good, I probably like yell out, just like, "Rah!" And I like run over and I start just kicking his body to a bloody pulp.
With each kick, you feel those bones snap and crack until eventually you've gotten them all, and every kick just feels like you're genuinely kicking a sack of meat. None of those bones are attached, and I'm sure most of them are broken into multiple tiny pieces. Zach, as you head upstairs and you place her down on a nearby couch, or...
Probably a couch.
As you set her down on the couch and she still is blankly staring, slightly scared, you do hear the muffled scream from downstairs, the roar. Perhaps she's gained control now. What do you do?
Is the woman vaguely conscious with it?
Oh, the woman is conscious in there. With it, well, she's panicking, clearly.
Okay. I'm going to very quickly send a phone call to someone. A text, even.
Who are you calling? Or who are you texting?
I am going to be texting Sarah.
And what do you say? In the
Cleanup
text?
needed and an address.
A few moments pass before you get a response. How bad?
Find
With
out.
a couple, like 3 question marks. You say, let's find out?
Yeah, I'm going to peek downstairs.
As you look downstairs, it's a corpse. No blood on any walls or floors. Surprisingly clean. As you see Dakota laying and leveling her foot repeatedly into his chest. If she keeps going, though, it could be.
Dakota, he's gone.
But I'm not done!
And that, the Dakota, he's gone, and I'm not done, is what snaps you out of the frenzy.
Fine.
Okay.
I kick the ground with my bloody boot.
I can clean this up.
I didn't make a mess. Not really. Is he like bloody everywhere, or is it just like
No.
broken ribs?
Nope, yeah, you didn't get blood anywhere. It's just if you kept going, you might be breaking skin soon.
I kept it inside.
You did. And this is totally fixable. Well done. Feel better?
Yes. I'm really good.
Does she have, like, extended animalistic features still going on?
Oh yeah, that lasts.
Pause.
She certainly looks. This is something that you would all know now. That gangrel, when they frenzy or lose control, their animalistic features stick around. Sometimes for a night, sometimes for multiple nights, depending. You're not sure what causes it to linger longer than others, though. Dakota, you've realized as time has gone on, these features seem to carry on a little longer and a little longer and a little longer every time. Every time you lose control.
Can you make it back to your haven?
Even if you couldn't, you know you have an ability to be safe for the night.
That'll be fine.
Got to make a head start. I'm going to have to clear up here, and then I'm going to have to go.
Okay. You said it's a 30-minute drive, so on foot
30-minute
running
drive.
with the dog. I guess the dogs could always meet me there later.
The dogs can absolutely stand sunlight, and you've had them for years at this point.
Yeah.
They can find their way home. You could make your way back to the boat around the same time, maybe a little slower.
On foot. Okay.
But you could get there before sunrise if you leave now.
I guess I should start running.
We've got a reservation. I'll try and switch it for tomorrow. I've got a celebration planned.
For him?
No, for you.
Oh. We're gonna celebrate Jim's death?
You've been waiting 13 years.
Been waiting longer than that. Okay.
I'll see you tomorrow,
It's like
D.
the best funeral ever. Thanks, Zach. I am. Thanks, Zach. And I like up the stairs and out of the house.
And like a blur, she takes off. You've seen that speed before. It's very useful. Zach, take 1 stain for knowingly luring somebody to his death over the course of about 5 years.
The other text I send is just going to be to my herd, saying, "Can you meet me tonight in about 20 minutes?"
Takes you don't get a reply right away. Do you send a text off to your when she said how bad?
I'm just going to say, bring the car, take it to the wrecking yard. Should be fine.
This is your retainer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Simply a yes, sir. And some time passes. About
I'm gonna
5 minutes. So what do you do?
grab the body, find like a rug or duvet or whatever, just cover it in that, wrap it up a bit, take a small bottle of bleach out, just cover the area. If there's like any tiny flecks of blood or anything, just make sure they're dealt with.
Just thoroughly going over the crime scene.
Yeah. I want to check the body to see if there's any sign that he's been drained of blood already, because there was no blood in a kind of strange way.
You go to check, and it does not seem so. If there is no evidence of a pale skin, well, he has no pulse any longer, so you're not entirely sure what his pulse was when he was alive. But on first glance and a quick cursory check, knowing the signs of drinking, doesn't seem like it.
I have a question. Would Zach and Dakota have means of communication? Would we have our cell phone situation again?
No.
Okay.
So, something I'm going to, as I think we talked about a little bit off camera, but for the audience, and as these questions come up, we'll address them. It's very difficult to put an entire 10 years worth of progress and changes into a 2.5-page blurb. But cell phone usage has been heavily adjusted again. So after everything that went down in season 1, the Second Inquisition's appearance in New York was gradual and steady.
Okay.
It's believed that the O'Hare Airport, the feds that crawl it, are Second Inquisition. Using cell phones that aren't burner phones is extremely dangerous.
Okay, then I would say before Dakota pieced out, she would have reached right into Jim's broken little face and pulled out his largest back molar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And tied it into the dreads.
If we can still use burner phones, there'll be a one-time deal of everyone who needs to contact me will have a one-time burner phone who I trust enough to have them, and I'll be like, after you use this, I'm straight up destroying the phone you contact me on, you will never be able to contact again. It's the in case of emergency burner phone situation. So, wouldn't be able to use it for this, but if you did need to, if that's okay, you'd have a way to contact Zach once.
Yeah, I would say it was just something Dakota does naturally.
Yeah.
Takes the trophy, yeah. So she would have done it before she... Yeah.
Zach, you scour the area, the crime scene, for a good 5 or 10 minutes before you can hear the rumblings of an engine outside.
I reach into my pocket, I take a Ziploc bag, flip it over, grab the needle out of his arm, flip it closed on that needle, zip it up.
Okay.
And I'm gonna
In that 10 minutes, do you do anything with the girl on the couch?
Yeah, if she's lucid enough to talk.
Sure. I mean, she looks to be, but she's gagged.
Yeah, I will go up to her very gently and carefully. I'm going to treat it like I'm probably going to approach her almost in a professional cop manner. Just carefully be like hands out, open, maybe flash her wallet just really quick, sort of half in her eyesight so she can't really see, but I'm trying to be open. Are you okay?
Please make me, as you're trying to calm her down and bring her to at least a hopefully conversational level, I would love you to make me there it is. Give me a charisma plus persuasion check, or persuasion works fine, but at a -1, of course.
Okay. For this scene, I should have said I will have activated my Domino of Life. Oh, yeah, for the entire night for this.
Sure. So explain to those what that looks like to you. What does Zach do? I know you don't perform a ritual or anything along those lines, but it's a very simple maneuver. What do we see Zach do?
So Zach reaches into one coat pocket, and like off camera, the camera just flies into his pocket, and you can see him gently move the fingernail around the wax seal on a test tube, in which there's just a little bit of blood, few drops, and he just cracks it enough that you see the wax shift and break. And then Zach's a little bit more healthy. His skin's tinged pink with a slight tan almost, if you looked at him in the right light. His eyes dim a little bit. He looks...
And the -1 disappears.
Normal-ish. Yeah, he's gonna sit down in front of her. And charisma. And you know what? I will rouse the blood on this as well for a +1 dice.
Ooh, risky. Nice job.
Charisma, and then persuasion. Cool.
Her eyes meet yours, and as you kind of hold your hands up in a peaceful manner, and you say, you know, what was it exactly that you said? Like, relax.
Are you okay?
You pull the gag from her mouth, and she takes a... Thank you. Oh my god, I thought I was gonna die. And she looks like she's on the verge of breaking down.
Look, I can get you out of here. What happened?
I was working the casinos, and this man he offered me a lot of money. He said he'd come home with me tonight. I'll make it the most. You won't have to work another day in your life for at least a year. And I mean, I know it's stupid, but the city's been going to hell, man. The city's been going to hell. I just want to get out of here. And I went home. I figured, what's one night? You know, if this is going to get me. And I came here, and I don't remember what happened after that, but I blacked out, and I woke up, and he was on the floor, and he was unconscious, and I don't know what he did, if he did anything to me. And then all of a sudden I heard the door open, and you guys showed up, and I thought I was going to die.
Okay. I'll help get you out of here. Just stay calm, and we'll get out. Have you got anyone, friends or anything to take you?
She loses the ability to speak and just shakes her head no vigorously.
Okay. So she said that she
basically
met
offered
him,
up
he offered her money
to come back, and implications, whatnot, but she doesn't
Okay.
go into detail, and it would just be one night.
I will wits insight that. What it's
Please do.
worth.
Seems to be telling the truth.
Okay.
But she is an emotional wreck, of course.
I'm gonna just gently sit her down, check her very, very carefully. Any sort of physical signs of like injury, cuts or anything?
How thoroughly do you check? I'm curious.
Very, very tedious, like hands off. I also want to check if she's got any ID at the same time.
She is, as you go over her body, you can see now that you have a moment, it seems as though she actually is in some sort of uniform, I guess you could call it. A white blouse and a very short black skirt. Not something that you've seen people wear too much. And as you look around, you actually could see some tear marks at the upper left of the shirt. Looks like maybe where a name tag had been ripped off or something. But nothing beyond that. And you don't see any ID, purse, anything.
What's your name?
She tries to catch her breath. She goes to chomp, almost to say, and she almost gets the first letter out of her mouth before the door swings open. Wits plus awareness, Zach.
This is the worst. Oh.
You hear the first footstep. It's heavy. The second one follows. It's also very heavy. Your retainer doesn't have heavy footsteps. And that doesn't make sense to be Dakota. That engine that pulled up wasn't your retainer. What do you do?
Is there a doorway nearby or anything?
The back door is close.
It's locked. Any door to a internal room, I will accept.
Yeah, there's a bedroom door right across the hall.
Okay.
You
I whispered to
dart-
her, forget,
She locks eyes with you and gets that dazed look again.
and I'm just going to move out of her viewpoint. If it means
Sure.
I can move behind her or anything, sure. And then I'm going to activate all my obfuscates.
Do we need some rouse checks, sir?
We need 1. Good.
And which, you said all of it. Silent, invisible.
So I'm
all
silent
of
and
it.
invisible, yeah. I will also
first-
attempt to hide in addition, just in case this is someone who's got auspex.
Sure. Please do make me a dexterity plus stealth check, sir.
3.
And so, Zach, you dart across, activating, going invisible and soundless. You dip into the next bedroom and push yourself up against the door, hiding behind and keeping an eye through a crack. The heavy footsteps are slow and continue. A male voice speaks out. I know you're in here. The door is cracked, and I followed you. Come out now and we can talk. As the footsteps continue, Zach, wits plus awareness, please.
Okay. Do I recognize the voice in any way?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, that was almost wits academics.
Different roll.
Very interesting roll. 0.
Okay. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary. As you watch and those footsteps get louder, a figure appears. A man. Relatively long beard. Short, cut mohawk. No tattoos, but short sleeves and long dress pants, it looks like. A t-shirt and dress pants. How bizarre. His shoes are nice. He seems to be looking around, checks each room quietly, and then pops back out into vision as he steps through. And eventually he makes his way to the living room, where the woman is. Right across the hall. He sees her and simply, ah, are you okay? And she looks up with tears in her eyes, and he just, shh, 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 shh. What's going on? And she begins to give a similar story she gave you. Details seem to be about the same, not that there were many. And he gives an understanding look, gets down on a knee and puts an index finger under her chin to lift and match his eyes. And he says, are you sure? That's all. And she kind of nods.
While this is happening, I want to text my retainer. Hold back a city block.
Yes, sir. Eventually, he reaches into his back and lifts his t-shirt. And there, you see a pistol. He puts his hand around it. Wits plus awareness.
Three.
And on his ring finger, on his right hand, you see a familiar symbol. A cross. He pulls the pistol out, but keeps it behind his back as he lets the index finger go. You're safe, but I have to make sure first. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back. And he stands up and holds the pistol by his side, with a healthy trigger finger off the trigger, and begins to finish the scouting. He heads into your room first, looks around, even looks directly at you, but doesn't seem to say anything or notice anything. Taking a picture?
Mhm.
Looks left, right, and moves out. Checks the rest of the house before heading back in there. Whatever seems to have been here left you. Ah, I almost forgot the basement. One moment. Then he stands up and he shakes his head. Sorry, it's been a long night. And he begins to make his way down the basement stairs. If you were to take her, now would be your opportunity, Zach.
How, like, because I was up top when Dakota was attacking that guy. How soundproofed is the basement? Like, would he hear her walking away, do I think, if he was downstairs?
He has the potential to hear her walking away. She's not quiet enough, yes. Lifting her and carrying her, though, is... You could easily pull that off.
Okay. Okay, I've got to guarantee this, so... I'm gonna walk up to her. I'm gonna uninvisible, and as I do so, I'm going to manipulate, dominate, and I'm gonna just tell her, quiet.
Please do. Does she get a resistance roll? I don't think so as a mortal, right?
Only if she is aware and attempting to resist. So in her state, probably not.
Nope, not at all.
Mortals have to be like fully like engaged.
Rouse check?
Yeah. It's just a rouse check because I don't need to roll the actual dice. So hunger gain.
Okay, 1 hunger up.
And I'm going to still have my silence activated, so he cannot hear me. He could hear her potentially.
So you lift her off the couch, and you look her in the eyes, and what is the exact command you give her again?
Stay silent.
And so she looks up at you, and you say, stay silent. And her lips look like they're about to part, and then she licks them and closes them. Her big brown eyes still gazing at you. You lift her off the couch quietly. The cushion lifts. You can hear him making his way down the stairs at this point. You step quietly towards the back door where the deadbolt can easily be unlatched and walk out, or do you walk out the front door? You don't know if there's more. You know he had a car.
His car's at the front, right?
Right next to where yours would be.
Cool. I have to leave the body, thinking really quickly. I take out my lighter. Normal kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the toaster, flick the toaster on. I'm gonna walk out the back door.
All right. You walk out the back door. Do you go to your car, or do you just leave your car there?
I will.
You are now
meet my retainer.
Huh?
I'll meet my retainer. I'll get her to pick me up a block away.
Absolutely. You give the retainer an address, and you begin to make your way out. Close call, but isn't your first, and certainly won't be your last. Takes a few minutes. Hopping over a fence, walking through lawns that aren't yours. Even a dog at one point begins to bark, but Zach has ways of quieting them too. As you make your way to the sidewalk, as you approach and step off the lawn and your foot meets sidewalk, almost on cue, your retainer pulls around the corner. No headlights on. She glides up, but never truly comes to a stop. The passenger door is thrown open as she's reached over, and she just looks at you. She says, "Get in."
I get
slide her in the back seat and take the shotgun.
I'm going to go in the back with her because she needs to be kept calm. But I will lean forwards to my retainer and say, seems like we've got company. Second Inquisition here. The evidence is inside. Probably best to leave. I need to stop off somewhere. Can you look after her, or do we need to drop her off?
What do you need of me, sir? Just ask.
Ideally, she's been looked after. I don't know who she is. I don't know what she saw.
I've got a place I can take her for the night.
Be nice to her.
Of course.
I say that loud enough that she can hear as well.
She looks at the clock. There's not much time. I can get you to your downtown haven, but anything else is going to be a little risky.
You drop me off the downtown. Some point tomorrow, can you pick my car up?
I'll make sure. I'll swing. She nods her head. I'll swing back after I drop you off and take care of her.
Give it some time, just in case someone's watching it.
She nods, and the car speeds off under the streetlights. It's not long, maybe 10 or 15 minutes before eventually we pull up to a small 4-story apartment building. She crawls to a stop, and Zach steps out. Dress shoes meeting sidewalk. No words are exchanged. The door is shut, and she just leaves as Zach's back is to the car. And you walk up the stairs.
I tell the woman before I go that she'll take care of you. Go with her. You'll be safe.
And off you go. And off she goes. But you don't have any of these apartments. Instead, you make your way down to the basement, where there's a couple of small basement apartments down here. I've
got a question. Would it be possible to have because I realized last night, Second Inquisition could just check basement apartments. Would it be possible to have a really terrible corner apartment that has no view and it's got like another wall like a few feet away from it, which only has like one window, and then probably won't turn up on searches for just basement apartments that could have kindred in them?
So you want like a tiny closet apartment on the first or second floor?
Like on ground floor, first floor, like it probably faces an internal wall or something, so it's got a terrible view and that's why it's cheap.
Absolutely. That totally works. And that's what your apartment is. Now, when we walk into this apartment that even lacks any number, there is no number hanging on the door. The only kind of address you have is hand scrawled on pen at the very front of the apartment building. It says your name and a scribble.
I imagine that this was actually more like a converted
it's a
storage
converted
area that they were
closet.
like, hey, it's worth money now. The prices have gone up, so they actually turned it into an apartment, and it's pretty terrible compared to everything else in here.
Everybody's squeezing every ounce they can out of their properties to make money right now. Things aren't exactly great. What does this place look like when you step in?
It's
Is it
well ordered.
decorated anyway?
It's a little decorated. It's a little decorated in a relatively decent fashion. Like, it's got a decent TV, it's got a computer in the corner, it's got a bed, all quite well made, but with just enough out of place that it looks like someone actually spends a normal life here. There's some shoes that have been kicked off at the door. Zach's gonna ignore all that and give them the Second Inquisition today. He's probably gonna go to the bathroom and lie down in the bathtub. It's an internal bathroom.
And we see Zach lie down in the bathroom, ready to turn in for the evening and let sun crawl over the side. Dakota, our camera cuts back to you, speeding away from the building and a good distance away. Eventually, the shores of the lake crawl up to your presence, and we see Dakota stopped short. Security guard of the docks looks over in your direction, just gives you a nod and turns away. What does your haven look like?
Dakota owns a boat, a relatively nice yacht to some degree. I think is what its actual classification is, but yeah, it was gifted to her. It's very clear. The upper floor, or there's of course like a deck, and the upper floor seems extremely luxurious and terribly out of place for Dakota. But you watch as she hops from boat to boat across the docks here in the northerly island, until she gets to hers, her feet landing firmly, one boot still. Oh no, there was no blood. And she whistles. Being on the boat, she whistles for both her dogs, calling them home. And yeah, she walks in. Like I said, the first floor is kind of luxurious. It's looks more like someplace that Ava might stay. Dakota walks through it without touching anything, straight to the back where there's a hatch that drops into a lower level of the boat. And this is definitely where Dakota stays. She closes it just in time for probably the sun to crest, and still in her animal form, you watch as she her hand's still shaking. She goes over to one of the planks in the lower level of the boat, and she pulls it back to reveal a small black book and an inkwell. Her hand reaches in, grabs it, pulls the pen, the quill from it, knowing that she, with these claws, can't write that way, and instead cracks the book and uses a single claw, dips it into the inkwell, and begins to scribe into this journal as the sun rises, and then she will promptly fall asleep.
Our young little Dakota, learning literacy over the past 10 years. Old dogs can learn new tricks, after all. And so Dakota and the beast, being satisfied, lie themselves at the bottom of their boat as the sun crawls over. But this night isn't done yet. As the camera pulls from the boat and zooms through the northerly isles into downtown Chicago, where skyscrapers dominate and busy nightlife echoes through the streets. The sweet smells of perfume fill our nostrils as we find ourselves in another apartment building, this one a little bit more high-end. Our dear Ava Heloise, the past few months have been fun, working your way into the government and those of power. Siana has been good to you. You, her personal seneschal, her right-hand woman, or to some, her useful little bitch. But tonight, after months of playing coy, we find Ava in the apartment of the Lieutenant Governor. A mostly useless position, depending on who you ask. But Siana promises she has her reasons. You've been courting him for some time, though his wife has no idea. Drinks, dancing, making out occasionally. Just enough to show him the gifts of the Toreador and leave him wanting more. Getting into his bedside has always been the plan, and fucking him is only a tool to attain the knowledge and information, and moreover the blackmail that Siana wants on him. You have your suspicions. Maybe she plans on taking out the governor so that when you have the blackmail on him, he can be her puppet. Or maybe having someone in her back pocket that seems useless in the public eye would give her back dealings that she's been wanting for a while. It matters not, because tonight's the night where you get everything you need. You've brought your toys, cameras, recording devices, and you set everything up. And it was a wonderful night of a fine dinner. His wife's a lawyer and she's gone for a few weeks. I think she went out east. Something about trouble in New York and making a quick buck holding some people up in court. Doesn't matter, she's not here. And he meticulously turned every picture she was in face down before you arrived tonight. Lingering guilt, perhaps. Mortals are funny that way. So easily manipulated. And you had a wonderful dinner. He cooked you pork chops. And you did pretty good. Homemade applesauce, even. He really gave it his all. And he cracked open the bottle of wine he was gifted on his wedding night 20 years ago. The thing that was supposed to be saved for their 50th. But you're worth it. You're always worth it, aren't you, Ava? And so eventually the sounds of lust and desire start emanating from the bedroom over the course of multiple hours. And over those hours, you take breaks, and you learn all about how their government works. Every last detail of deals they've made and who they've made it with. Unsurprisingly, you've learned that the Ventrue have been very interested in speaking with the Lieutenant Governor. Maybe that's why Siana has you talking to them. The Ventrue say they're comfortable in the Lower West Side, but the Ventrue aren't comfortable unless they're in power. And Siana has made that very clear. Eventually you get everything you need, and he falls asleep, as they all do. A light knocking on the front door, as expected. Does Ava go answer it?
No, she would not. She would probably use some of her Auspex abilities to maybe see who's on the other side for safety.
Heightened awareness?
Yes, or sense the unseen, perhaps. Actually, it's not really.
Likely not going to be very useful unless you're
Yeah.
expecting something invisible in the apartment.
No.
You have heightened senses, don't you?
I don't have it added, but
You don't have heightened senses. For some reason, I thought you did. What do you have?
actually, I don't know if I.
You have premonition. I know you have premonition.
I have premonition and share the senses, not.
Well, you could always invoke a premonition if you think it'll help, but you know your premonitions, while they have been something you can induce if you try hard enough, they're never reliable and they're always vague. Almost always. It's up to you. Do you want to do any of that, or do you just quietly listen? And
I'll just, what I'll do is I'll just go up to the door, look through, quietly, see who's
look through
there.
the peephole?
Yes.
You were expecting somebody to meet you tonight, to take you out of here. You weren't quite expecting Siana herself, however. But on the other side of the door, there she stands. It's funny. The very first time you fucked somebody for information, she showed up. In her hand, you see a very small bottle of champagne.
I'll go ahead and let her in.
The door unlocks, and you open it. There's no creak. It's a well-maintained building. It better be for how much he pays. And as you open the door, she's already smiling in her signature red dress. But as Siana looks to Ava, how have the 10 years treated you? I imagine you got dressed before you answered the door.
Of course. So Ava, she looks quite different. Most of the same, but something different about her from 10 years ago. A different aura to her. Her eyes sometimes change. The color changes. Her hair longer, which is usually weird for a vampire, as our hair does not grow. Though being the Toreador she is, She has extensions that keep her hair at a length that keeps it about the same length as Siana. It's almost like she's a weird reflection of Siana. Some would say she looks like Cammy in some ways, but more than anything, she looks like a mini Siana. When 10 years ago, Ava dressed very stylish. She had more modern styles and looks to her. Ava's now embraced a lot more of the lavish Toreador lifestyle, wearing more high-end designer clothing, long dresses, trying to look as beautiful as she can at all times.
And beautiful she is. It's the gift of your clan. It's why you rule Chicago. Beauty and smarts, it's all you need. And she smiles to you. My dear, may I?
But of course.
And she steps through as you step to the side, shutting the door and locking it behind you. As she does, she gestures to a chair nearby as she scours the nearby kitchen for a couple of wine glasses. She grabs them and brings them over as you sit down. And she goes, am I to open this in celebration?
But of course, the deed is done.
He's not dead, is he?
No, he's sound asleep right now.
A job well done, then. And after she says that, it follows with a small pop, as you can see it bubbling. She spills it over into one of the glasses, catching the drops before it hits the ground. And with a twist, brings the champagne bottle back, takes the other empty glass and pours it, and then places it down. There's still things that I miss about being human. And she hands over one of the glasses. But there's a certain pleasure I get in controlling them more. And she reaches forward to cheers your glass. And she takes a sip. For long, she ruminates and basks in the silence for a while. It looks like she's listening. Deep, deep breaths. He sounds exhausted.
Well, it was an exhausting night.
And, how many hours of recorded footage and audio do you think you got? 1, 2?
2 to 3, I'd say.
Good. That'll be useful later on. Like I said, I appreciate this, my dear Ava, and of course, in turn, I owe you a small favor at some point at your desire. Feel free to write down minor boon on your sheet, Ava. From Siana. It's a minor boon. Those are not to be cashed in on anything large. And minor boons are traded pretty openly. Over the course of the past 10 years, as Ava has ingratiated herself into the Camarilla as it's rised from the ashes, you realize that doing favors for one another in the kindred society is kind of their currency. Moreover, any kindred who words things even slightly vaguely will take that as a boon, owed or offered. You've seen people say, hey, I owe you, and they take that as a major boon. Kindred times are dangerous when you're speaking to those you shouldn't be speaking to. And eventually, after she sips and enjoys the silence some more, she stands, and her high heels clacking on the tile floor, she makes her way to the bedroom, where they're eventually muted by carpet. She tells you to stay there, and so you just stay. And after a few minutes, she walks out, has all the devices in hand, takes the cards that she needs and crushes them into and puts the memory cards in a pocket and crushes the devices into a trash bag. Eventually, she puts that near the door. I'll have my people take care of this. Now, Siana, I'm curious if you have any idea why I even wanted you to do this. What are your thoughts? What do you think we could do with this information?
Well, I see your suspicions with the Ventrue. Maybe possibility here with him.
She points her finger. Not the first thing I thought you would jump to, but the impressive thing. That's the first thing that came to mind. You know, Ava, there was once a time where your primary concern was mortal affairs. That was what was on your mind. Now, though, Ventrue.
Yes, how things have changed in such time. I know that has been a concern for the Camarilla. Not much a concern as they seem to be dealt with, quote unquote, dealt with. But I'm sure there are things that they are trying to sneak their way into. They are Ventrue after all.
They are manipulative little pricks, aren't they? But it comes with the clan. I like you, Ava. I always have. That is a very good assumption. You wouldn't be wrong, at least not fully. I have heard rumors that the Ventrue have been trying to get into his pockets recently. For what reason, I'm not sure. But see, Ventrue, they rely too heavily on money. Mortals, they just love sex so much. It's easy. Have you spoken to your old circle recently?
Well, it's been about a few days since I've spoken with Zach. Dakota, it's been quite some time. It's been a while.
Did Zach tell you what he was up to tonight?
I don't think he did, no.
If Zach's on a job, he wouldn't tell someone unless the person who was hiring him wanted to.
Oh, I know you wouldn't say anything. Dakota, on the other hand. Well, I happen to know Zach has been very busy tonight. Dakota was seeking permission from the prince. Said Zach was going along. Would you like to know why?
I am quite curious, yes.
And consider this the boon paid. It seems Miss Dakota, the hound that she is, got a bone. Jim, does that name ring a bell to you?
Ava kind of sits for a minute, thinks back. 10 years is a long time. Yes, I do remember. Dakota's stepdad, father.
Yeah, something along those lines. He was lured to Chicago. I'm not quite sure how, but he was. Now, there's an inherent problem there. That's why I bring this up. While Dakota may have gotten permission from the prince to do what she planned on doing tonight, whatever that plan was, though I can't imagine it's good if it's Jim.
Yes.
It meant he had to come to Chicago. Now, my sources say he flew in. But even if he drove in, whatever the reason, that poses threats. The Second Inquisition has been everywhere these past few nights. And if they're any, even as half as thorough as we believe them to be, do you honestly think they don't know that he's here and who he is? I need you to take care of that. I need you to find out if the Second Inquisition know. And if they do, I need to know.
Okay, understood.
Speak to your brother. Speak to Dakota if you must. And what of the butcher? Have you spoken to him recently?
I've not heard from him in quite some time. I, myself, have tried to reach out. Response is very short. We haven't quite rekindled a relationship.
Fair, I just figured maybe a Nosferatu might be useful in this situation, but he's been keeping to his bar, I'm told. Hasn't caused any problems for the Camarilla, so we'll leave him be. Can you manage this for me, Miss Ava?
But of course, I will reach out to my brother, Dakota maybe. Make sure that the Second Inquisition does not get hold of this, or follow us at least.
The night is growing short. I suggest you head back to your haven for the night. Deal with that tomorrow. But I need an answer as soon as you can. If it's Second Inquisition and they're actually following them or bothering them, then we need to know so we can try and take care of it. They've been grabbing interesting strategic positions throughout Chicago, and routing them out has been like trying to get rid of cockroaches in an infested restaurant. Impossible. They seem like they're in the walls. She smiles again, but for tonight, let's finish our champagne. And she looks over and she sees a rather nice stereo system. She flips some music on, walks over to the bedroom door and shuts it. And she begins to make out with you. And that night, what little left of there is, she takes the night to remember what passion feels like. And as they begin to kiss, the camera pulls back. The night comes to an end for our 3 members.
Siren Childer, is that weird or not? I don't know.
A lot of kindred end up siring because they're in love.
Hmm.
They don't want to be alone. Ava, well, maybe for another time. The next night begins. Rouse checks to wake up.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Remember this. Back to the rouse checks. Give me 1 moment.
Dakota sleeps in a hammock.
Bottom
It's
of
like one of
the
those. Yeah.
bottom of the sheet on the left.
Yes.
Go all the way to the bottom. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dakota's,
we've also, Chad, we have new character sheets, so there's going to be, we kind of shifted over to some of the newer ones, so there's going to be a little bit of growing pains in regards to figuring out how things are rolled, but we'll get it, don't worry.
These sheets, if you're wondering, are the actual Roll20 ones. Last season, we're using a horrible hack that I made because there weren't ones available at the time. These ones are better.
Can I get everybody as well? Just to roll me 1d10 flat.
oh, okay.
It's not for anything super weird. I just want to know where I'm going to start first. Who was that? Who rolled?
That was Ava.
Okay. Then we open the night with Ava. Ava, you have a wonderful haven. It was gifted to you at the end. In fact, when you think back on that one fateful night, the linchpin to the rise of the Camarilla, where the 4 of you stood in the prince's domain and spoke to Bella. Or was it Sybil you were talking to? Maybe it was both. Whatever the case, even if it was Sybil, that name is never, ever uttered. Upon pain of final death, is it never uttered. Bella seems to act herself almost always, though you don't see her very often. As the Camarilla rose again, so did her duties and her priorities. Time for you, even if you are a decade old now, is little. Siana barely has time to see you multiple times a week. But that night, Olli left first, angry and fuming. Then Zach went home, contemplative, worried. It was between you and Dakota at the end, who was going to be the first to leave. But Dakota was sent away, and you were kept. There was nothing important spoken about, but you were allowed to take part in the celebration. That's when you were gifted your haven. That very night. A suite in the ivory tower itself. How secure, though depending on who you ask, how dangerous as well. All the private security you could ask for, cameras. But in that, There is no privacy here. This is a safe haven, but nothing more. What does your haven look like?
It is indeed a beautiful penthouse. 2 bedrooms, a beautiful living space, kept very well clean. Lots of portraits hung around the penthouse, many of them that Ava actually took herself.
And of what are they of?
Some different people, portraits of different people that she's taken. More artistic, yes. High fashion.
Is there a theme that runs through your pictures?
They're very dark.
Macabre? Macabre?
Yes. That's a perfect word to describe it. There's even one that was her first photo that she ever took that was displayed somewhere. It's not of actually people. It's one of Chicago. It's one that there's raindrops on the photo itself. It was taken in the rain, and it's a shot of Chicago from the river that is in Chicago.
When was this taken? You said it was your very first. Are we talking prior to your embrace?
Prior to the embrace, yes. That's the only one that she has hung up that is prior to the embrace. The rest were taken in her kindred life and the work that she's done in studios.
Is this picture of Chicago in a special location, or is it kind of just in the middle of everything? Just tossed in? Or is there importance to this picture for Ava? Does this represent something?
It does represent a different time for her. However, I think it is in the middle of everything. It's decorated. It almost doesn't fit with the rest of the portraits that she has around. There's just these very beautiful, large portraits. And then there's the one small one that's there in the middle of everything. But nonetheless, nonetheless, her penthouse is very well decorated. She has a very big wardrobe and the like. So this morning, usually when she wants to talk with her brother, she'll kind of wait for him to come to the ivory tower. But this seems like a different occasion, as Siana herself asked to reach out.
And you do have a burner phone from him. He has ensured that you have it one at any given time. But does Ava reach out to him while she's within the ivory tower? How much does she trust those
I think
she serves?
I think she would not, no. I think she would leave and go to check Zach's apartment. She knows where he lives.
How do you get there?
Him.
Do you just walk? You could walk. It would take about an hour, maybe a little longer if you just walk it. No, it would definitely be longer than an hour, but you could easily walk it. You have the night. You have been informed, and the Cambrilla has been informed, that use of social driving apps, the Bloober and the Rift, they have been infiltrated by the Second Inquisition, and you're not guaranteed safety using them any longer.
Yes, Ava does not have any devices on her. She has people for that now. If she ever needs to check things online on social media, checking things out, she has people to do that.
Puppet accounts controlled by those under your influence.
I think what she would do is head out, begin to walk, and hail a cab if she can along the way.
Cabs are equally as dangerous. Keep that in mind.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. The Second Inquisition is everywhere.
Curse them. Curse them. Okay.
I don't know if you remember, but you were all very loud in season 1.
Question, storyteller. Is there any way to get hold of the ivory tower in particular, like leave a message for someone there anyway? Do they have any front or anything?
You could always head to the ivory tower itself and deal with the front desk, but that's kind of the only way.
Yeah.
And requesting a meeting with the prince or the council is usually denied unless it's of the utmost importance. And even then, they determine what's important.
Oh, all right. Walking it is. I think we will.
Do you have a retainer?
I do, yes. I have 2.
Do they have any points in drive? Did you build them? That's the true answer. For the sake of simplicity, for now, we'll say one of them has a car that can personally chauffeur you around when needed. However, we will get together over the next week and we'll build them to make sure that at least one of them is a chauffeur.
Yeah, one of them is the bodyguard type that he would probably be my chauffeur.
Sure. What does this man look like to you?
He is...
As you go downstairs, every night he stands there waiting. Always. Even if you don't need him, he's there.
He's a taller, well-dressed gentleman. Has like a well-trimmed beard. Probably in a nice suit. He would look... He was previously a bodyguard type, a security for a nice venue. So generally, they usually are very well dressed. It's not the bouncer type that you're thinking, like a big buffet, like at a club or something. This is a nicer style club. So he would be usually dressed pretty nice. His name is Adam, and he is my retainer. So I chose him because I didn't really have... I mean, I have my brother Zach. He's a little more frail. I used to have Olli around a lot, and I felt safe when I was with somebody. Even Dakota. I felt safe with Dakota. I felt safe with Olli. They're not around anymore. Though I am a vampire, and obviously I have abilities to keep myself protected, it's nice to have somebody else around to make you feel a little more safe and secure when you're out on your own. So I would go to him, and I would let him know that I'm going to visit my brother.
As you wish. And he opens the door for you to step in. Tinted windows, nice BMW. And he shuts the door behind. He makes his way around the front of the car, drags his left hand across the hood, and checks his fingers before he opens the door and sits. The doors lock. Are we in a hurry, my lady?
No rush.
As you wish. The car engine smoothly starts. It's almost silent. And quietly the wheels begin to turn, pull out onto the main streets, and join Chicago traffic. Take some time to get to Zach's. It is only early in the night, and the Ivory Tower is only about 4 blocks away from the Rack, a string of nightclubs where all kindred are allowed to feed. As you make your way through, the neon lights, the smell of perfume and vomit and piss and alcohol fill your nostrils as it filters through the car itself. People are laughing, and on the other side of the street, people are puking. There is a punch thrown. You're pretty sure you see a fight breaking out in one of your favorite clubs, but that's not out of the ordinary around here. No, what you remember is how Prince Bella, shortly after everything was taken care of, opened the Rack to all kindred, with exclusion of the Sabbat, of course. Anarch, Camarilla, and loners can feed, so long as they maintain the Masquerade, and overfeeding doesn't become a problem. Should it become a problem, the Rack will go back to what it once was. Exclusive feeding grounds for the Primogen and the Prince, and nothing more. This was an olive branch, a sign of good faith to the Anarchs, to almost apologize for taking a huge chunk of land from them, carved near the Lower West Side and gifted to the Ventrue. Now, there are still fights that break out over there, turfs that the Anarch claim belong to them, but they've been quelled, and the Anarchs have mostly gone quiet. But occasionally, they make their way to the Rack when feeding gets scarce down south. There's not that many you can feed on. You can only feed on the same homeless people a couple of times before they might die on you. It certainly made the Rack interesting. But the Rack passes, and you hit the main highway, heading to Zach's apartment. And the camera zooms ahead to that apartment, through the doors, and in a dark room where the next night arrives, and we see Zachary open his eyes.
Put the shotgun away.
Does Zach do anything? As he looks to his phone, there are text messages. 3 from your retainer. She's safe. A few hours later, it's morning. I'm going to check. Leaves it at that. Then afterward, your car has been destroyed. Mess has been cleaned. Simple as that.
Would I know that by mess is being cleaned, does she mean the car?
You would know she meant that whatever was in that house, she has taken care of it.
Okay, so she's dealt with the house. Okay.
She has taken care of it. She is incredibly capable. That's why you've chose her out of everybody.
Yep. Good. In which case, I probably put the phone away.
Sure.
I need
Do you
to
just
talk
wait?
to Dakota. I probably want to contact Ava as well, because she's got people in the Camarilla.
Well, you could always reach out. You know she has a burner phone if it's an emergency.
Yeah, it's not that kind of emergency, though.
The night is early. Zach could spend 30 minutes to an hour making sure everything's taken care of, packed, ready to go, going over and responding to what you need to respond to, etc., etc.
I'll see if I can send the image that I got over to one of my contacts to do facial recognition using the police database, if I can.
Your 2-dot contact?
Mm-hmm.
That would be Oswin, then?
No, we do not speak that name.
Whoop, my bad. I thought that was the one.
No.
I don't see him built. Do you have him built?
I haven't built my contacts because you don't build contacts normally. I have
2-dot was a moderate mortal build.
Context, it doesn't say to build them as anything stats, it just says that's their position. I have the contact name here. Ryan McIntyre, police dispatcher, Chicago PD.
Sounds good. What do you say? You text him.
Need a quick workup on this person. Give me anything you can from the facial recognition. There's something for you to run a print on later. Just in case I'm working on. Send him the picture.
Okay.
And I'll at some point send over some money for him as well.
Sure. So he's always been good, but it takes time sometimes, especially early in the night where he might still be on duty. He only gets that to you after he's clocked out for the day.
Yeah, it's not anything urgent. Otherwise, I'd tell him so and I'd pay him extra.
And so do you start packing things for the night? Is there anything else you're looking for?
Honestly, Zach's gonna probably wait half an hour, just do some very basic research, just in case Dakota ends up running at him, because Dakota might want to speak to him after the day before. Otherwise, he'll probably make his way up there. So he's gonna spend half an hour just going over his current projects, doing a little bit of work. He's got a decent library here. It's not an actual full library, but he's got enough tomes, enough research that he bases a lot of his work out of here. Minimal and burnable in an emergency pretty easily.
As Zach has been doing since the very beginning of his life, his unlife. Everything can be destroyed in a moment's notice. So Zach does some studying, gets some things done. Ava, eventually downtown Chicago starts seeing less buildings and less clubs. But right on the outskirts of Toreador territory lies your brother, gifted permission to have haven in Toreador territory for the great deeds he and your four did. Your driver stops and parks the car about a block away, as is tradition, and looks back over the chair to you. Anything else I can do for you, or shall I wait here?
That's all, dear. Thank you. I can handle it from here.
Of course, madam. And he lets the car idle as he steps out, and he parks, and he opens the door for you, as always. As you step out, he shuts the door behind. You know where to reach me if you need me. And he gets into the car, and he drives off, likely to not be too far. This building isn't great, and Zach's apartment's kind of garbage, but it serves its purpose, and to be this close to the rack and this close to the council. It's a gift in itself. You make her way into this nonchalant brick apartment. You step through the hall, and in the back, an old storage closet retrofitted. Do you knock?
Yes, a light knock.
Zach, as you're finishing reading a book, almost serendipitously, a knock at your door. It's not entirely surprising, but it is rare.
I recognize my sister's knock.
Like I said, not entirely surprising.
I go over to the door, check the peephole,
There
the
she
shotgun
stands.
away.
A little
undo-
wave because I know you're checking through the peephole.
Undo the 3 deadbolts I've got on the door.
You hear each one. First a deadlock, then a chain, and then the homemade one. The door opens by a crack, or do you fully let it swing open?
I let it swing open about a foot or two. Not a crack, but it's still not
Enough
going
to
all the
let
way.
her get in.
Yeah.
Ava, you step into his apartment, this cubicle at best. The door shuts behind you, and I imagine Zach just goes click, lock, and relocks everything.
Soon it will be taking you 5 minutes to open the door, brother. How many more locks do you need on that thing?
Well, right now the main limit is the door. I need to replace the door to make it stronger. What brings you here after such a busy last night?
Well, usually, you're right, I don't normally make my way to these parts, but...
It's still Toreador turf.
Correct, but I'm talking these apartments specifically.
The apartment's not bad, I just have a small one.
I know. I heard some things.
Okay.
Words spread rather quickly when things are happening with the prince.
I
and
turn
getting
on some music.
Mm-hmm. And so he blasts some music.
Not too loud, not like it's going to disturb neighbors, but just enough that it's that
Just
mid-range
enough.
that it's going to...
Yes.
Of course.
Word travels quickly when getting permission to do things, and I heard about what you did with Dakota last night.
Now, Zach, it's not entirely out of the ordinary that she would have heard. She is Siana's right-hand bitch.
She lives in the ivory tower. We had to get...
Yeah.
Well, Dakota had to get permission.
She didn't
As
have to, she
expected.
chose to.
She chose to, it's true.
I understand that was something that was a long time coming. Hopefully everything went well.
Interestingly, why come here away from your tower at just after sunset?
Well, I am concerned. It comes from Siana. She too is concerned with Jim entering into the city. That could raise some eyeballs to the Second Inquisition. And I want to make sure the two of you are safe.
I believe Dakota's fine. I'm fine.
Was there anybody there? Any sign of it?
Siana's
Them.
asking.
Yes, she is. We all need to be concerned about the Inquisition. They are still a threat in the city.
I know. They killed my sire,
Yeah.
remember?
Zach, for what it's worth, and EE, of course, as well, this is also something for you to keep in mind. Run-ins with the Second Inquisition have become more commonplace. They're not as big of a... It's not as big of a punishment, quote-unquote, should you run into the Second Inquisition. So, I don't want you, E, to think that...
Oh yeah,
admitting
cocking
to
up
it-
around the Second Inquisition is the punishment. Not
right, exactly.
just being
I just don't
around
want you
them.
to think that the Camarilla is going to slap you for
No.
running into them. That's not part of it.
No. Okay. We can talk, but maybe we should talk to Dakota first.
I agree. I would like to make sure she is also safe.
Did you drive here?
Adam drove me here.
Did he drive you here or nearby?
To
Nearby.
Nearby.
You're learning.
Yes. I forgot that even taxis are not safe in this city. So annoying.
Well, they keep databases, and from what I understand, you can do some cross-checking and find out where a lot of them come from, about
Yes.
sunset, about sunrise.
Yes, yes. They are quite a threat, and I do want to be safe.
I think everything's taken care of. It's worth checking with Dakota first. If
I
your
agree.
drive is still nearby, shall we take a bit of a visit? She doesn't know where I live. You're the only one who does, so just bear it in mind.
Perhaps. I did send him away. I didn't want him staying around.
We can meet him nearby. Take a short walk.
And as simple as that, two of you finish up conversation and head to the sidewalk. You walk a few blocks away before Adam's car pulls up. As you enter the car and the door is shut, and the car begins to make its way towards the coast, we'll fade to black and take our first break.
Okay. With that, we're going to go to a short break for a few minutes. If you want to reread Math's intro speech, you can check it out on the Patreon. It's free. You don't even need to be a Patreon. You can just go and get it and check it out. There's a lot of cool information about what's happened in the
There's
10
a
years
lot.
and setup. It's 1,660 words, I think. So go check that out if you're bored in the break. Otherwise, pee, drink, eat, do all the things that humans do. If you're not human, Blush of Life probably will help you out there. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Enjoy some fan art in the meantime, and I'm also going to play the intro trailer again because it's badass. Hello! Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Silence of Shadows. I'm actually quite pleased that I managed to announce this season's name correctly rather than defaulting to the older season. Welcome back. This is season 2 of our Sounds of Silence campaign.
I had to make it just a little confusing with the name.
Yeah. First season was Sounds of Silence, second season was Sounds of Shadows, which means the third season is going to be the Shadows of Sound, right? That's how that works?
The Shadows of Sybil, baby.
So, with that, take away Mathis.
Sure. I did see some questions in chat about how much of Chicago by Night I'm using. For those who might be new and didn't see my talk in the beginning, I'd say on average probably like 50% of the book. You know what I mean? Some NPCs, some of the rule systems, but definitely not all of it. So don't expect a similar Chicago.
Side note, quite a good book. It's got a lot of good lore sheets on its path. Please sponsor us. I'm done.
Please.
There we go.
Please.
All right. We pick back up, but not in the car heading to the shore, instead at the shore itself. On a yacht in the middle of the water, as Dakota wakes for the evening.
She sleeps in a hammock, in like a one of those sunproof like hammocks. So she binds herself. So she unwraps the opposite direction and drops to the floor on all fours. Promptly goes upstairs to assure the dogs made it home safely.
They did make it home safely. They
have a big old fluffy bed on the deck, on the sun deck side.
They are. One of them is sleeping actually on the hardwood floor. It is late spring. It's getting hot, so the cool floor probably feels nice. The other one, though, is belly up, out, lips kind of falling back, exposing his jowls as it snores heavily.
Nice. I probably would. She doesn't keep the boat in the same place at the docks. To wait off suspicion. So if I haven't recently moved the boat, the first thing Dakota would do is like repark it somewhere else here on the docks, just to move things about. And then she will probably lay on the sun deck with her dogs belly up as if the sun was out and she was sunbathing, staring at the stars. This is what she does now.
Hound with the hounds.
Yep.
And eventually you do relax and enjoy a very clear night sky as summer encroaches. The trees have been going from dead and empty to budding leaves sprouting. Life surrounding you again, and the fish in the water have been more and more active as spawning season kicks in. But not too long after you've been awoken, give me a wits plus awareness check.
Okay, cool. For people in chat, don't freak out. Princess Bella is still around. She's probably maybe inside the boat. I don't know. Maybe she likes the deck.
She's a cat.
She's around.
Napping,
she's
right?
a cat. Yeah, she's around. You said wits and awareness. Oh, God, the sheet is so different. Finding the things I need. Did it go? Aha! Single success.
A single success. It's actually all I'm looking for. It's not anything insane. As you look out to the coastline occasionally, you see all the security guards and the dock workers closing up for the night and heading home. All the other boats are docked nicely in Lake Michigan. And a couple of security guards are just wandering and doing their nightly patrols. One of them you recognize. But eventually, you see a car pulling up into the parking lot. Lights out. Not one you recognize. But as the doors open, you see two figures step out. Zach, of course. Not wholly unexpected, but along with him, a rare sight. It's been a long time since the two of you have truly worked together in any sense. You have respect for one another, at least to some degree. She works for one of the more powerful kindred in the Camarilla, and you are a loyal hound to the sheriff. You work for the same company, as it were. Just different ends of the company building. But there's still a seed of resentment for everything she did 10 years ago. Not necessarily because of the actions she took, because she lied about it when asked initially. It sucks, and you've grown apart, but here she is. Her hair is long, as you've seen occasionally. And the only time you've actually really seen Ava is in Elysium, and every so often, if you're getting a job in front of the council from the sheriff. It's not surprising to see Siana standing beside the prince and Ava beside Siana. If she's here, then there's a reason. The door's shut and the car pulls out and leaves.
I look at the two dogs and I just say, put on your fancy pants, boys.
The one continues to snore and just and continues.
I pet his belly.
Well, he does his little paw twitches. The other one stands up and begins to follow you around. Do you bring the boat in?
Yeah, I mean, it would be docked. It would just, they're going to have to look for the boat. Zach,
For another dock. Sure.
yeah, or just further down. Zach might know. Well, I would have had to have told him the name of the boat and everything. So Zach would know that that my boat does have a name. I'll make sure I gave it one. I did give it one. Yeah, the Haven. It's called La Bella Vita.
La Bella Vita. And you told Zach that name?
Yeah, he would have had to have used it to try to draw Jim there, even though it didn't technically work.
So you wander through the docks and look for her boat. It's unassuming. It doesn't stand out. It's nice, but there's a lot of nice boats here. Yeah. And you just look for the one that says La Bella Vita. And
does Dakota mind us going straight to her boat with, like, if I bring Ava, or would Dakota be, because I don't know how Dakota would feel about that, because otherwise Zach will just wait until Dakota approaches them, just wait on the waterfront.
I guess I would go send the dog to retrieve you.
Yeah, in which case, like, Zach's going to wait on the waterfront with Ava, maybe pace up and down a little bit, like we're walking up and down the shore, just to make sure we're visible.
Yeah, I would just, like, whistle for the dog to go grab him and walk him back.
He leaps off the boat and trots onto the dock, and his paws eventually, his nails clacking on the wood of the dock, eventually meet grass, and off he goes into the distance. About 5 minutes after you've arrived, you see a short, squat, incredibly muscular pit bull making its way toward you. If it wasn't who you know it to be, this would be a horrifying sight. But it walks, head down. It looks aggressive, but it doesn't growl. Dakota's dog.
I nod at it. I give it respect. I treat it as, like, just another one of her workers.
It watches and makes sure you're following, and every once in a while it looks back to see if you're following. Sometimes it trots a bit to move a little faster, but eventually La Bella Vita is brought into view.
Ava? You okay with dogs?
They're nice. Lovely, welcoming party, I suppose.
You know that these two dogs were gifts from Bella personally.
Very interesting.
She's a pack leader now.
I see that. I know there are two of them.
Eventually, you make your way over to the boat, and as you say there are two of them, you actually can see a familiar gangrel standing on top of her yacht.
I do a Captain Morgan pose just for Ava. Like, foot up, I lean in just a little bit, like, arms wide, and I'm like, what brings you from the ivory tower to my humble abode?
Oh, Dakota. What a lovely boat you have.
She kind of looks, knowing that the boat itself is kind of a fuck you.
Can I get from Ava, specifically, and not from Zach, an intelligence plus politics roll when you see this boat?
Intelligence plus.
Do you have any? What's your status?
My status is
3.
I believe, yes.
And what's your politics?
My politics is 2.
You may replace politics with status if you so choose for this role. I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah. So okay, sorry. I'm going to have to, how do I do this double roll?
You're just going to be rolling intelligence plus 3d10, basically, instead of 2d.
Okay.
I don't know how you would do it otherwise.
You can click.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
There you
Okay.
go. 5
There we go.
successes. Oof,
Wow. Wow.
that's
You
a
have
hell of a-
intimate knowledge of this boat.
Right?
Well, you've heard the stories. Who this boat once belonged to, who it fell into the hands of, and eventually it was gifted over to Dakota This used to be one of Prince Maxwell's smaller boats. It wasn't called La Bella Vita at the time. That was retrofitted by Dakota. And surprisingly for Dakota, his boat is rather well kept.
You do a good job maintaining it, I see.
It's because I don't live up here. Oh, I should welcome him in, clearly, like, into the very nice luxury space. There's probably, like, on luxury boats, they have those, like, seats that are, like, attached to the wall, and there's, like, a table mounted down, and probably a bunch of fake stuff, a TV, and all the kind of stuff Dakota would never touch in a million years.
Ava will make herself in and have a seat. I know it's been a while since I've really seen you. Not even since we've spoken in such an intimate setting like this. I'm sorry for that. I know we're all busy with our own lives, doing our own things. I come here with Zach because I did hear some interesting news, and I was concerned for the two of you.
Oh?
As you probably know, word in the Ivory Tower always travels quite quickly when things are going on, and I heard about what you and Zach did last night.
And?
Well, first I have to say I respect it. It was a long time coming. I'm sorry that it didn't happen sooner. You seeing him.
I'm more sad that he... Never mind.
I don't know the details of what happened, and you don't have to tell me. But Siana brought to my attention some concerns with the Second Inquisition.
There was no Second Inquisition there.
I would hope not, but having somebody from your past enter into the city, they seem to know a lot about you, and that could raise some alarms with the Second Inquisition.
I got permission to bring him here.
Of course, I know you did, and there's no issue with any of that. It's more that things can get dangerous very quickly.
Zach, what happened after I left?
Second Inquisition showed up.
Fuck.
Did you get any close-up of what he looked like or who he was? Did you interact with him?
Turn the phone around.
It's a flip phone, it's old tech, and it's a little pixely, sure, but it's enough to make out most of the details of this young man's face. Maybe in his early 20s. Not recognized by anybody here.
You didn't talk... Well, I would hope that he didn't see you or anything, Zach.
No.
Good.
And...
This isn't 10 years ago.
That's good. Well, the two of you should definitely keep a low profile for a little while, just in case anything comes up from the scene of where you were.
Nope, body was dealt with. Gone now.
Are you sure?
Sure.
And the Inquisition member?
Left. I'll have to get a new car.
Cars are overrated.
Was there anyone else there?
A woman. Something's fishy about the entire thing.
A woman. Where is she now?
As far as I know, Mathers, Sense of Beast would have told me if she had a beast in her, unless she was deliberately trying to hide it, so...
Oh, yeah, no, she was mortal.
Mortal? Confused, as far as I could tell.
I'm sure you handled that.
He's being kept safe. I do want to follow that up with her. Why?
If you're concerned about privacy, Dakota could always take the boat into the middle of the lake.
I could do that.
That's something that
I
she
would
have
love
done.
that.
Sure.
Actually,
Sorry to-
Dakota.
Not to put words in your mouth, but I know there's paranoia happening, and there is a certain.
Dakota's not paranoid. This is a high-end docking area for the wealthy of Chicago. There's nobody here in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's like I said. You have a couple security guards, and you know one of them.
Yeah,
and they're like 300 feet out.
There's a load of boats around here, which makes sightline difficult to get a beat on the window, and there's a lot of stuff moving around, like masts and so on, so there's no ambient noise.
It's also pretty safe, yeah.
Dakota says, Zach, you and Ava seem...
I was wondering why there was Second Inquisition there, why he had decided to randomly kidnap and tie up a woman and then knocked himself unconscious with drugs.
Oh, I missed the woman part. I was kind of...
Yeah, you were busy.
It
was a trap for us. That's the only thing I can see out of it.
You might be right. You avoided that trap.
No, we went straight through it. It's somewhat different.
Well, you managed to dodge the
Wait
trap.
a second. Jim was already dead when we arrived. Well, might as well be.
I don't know. You
But
did
the
a number
woman
on
you said was tied up.
tied up, freaked out, as far as I can tell. Genuine.
If there was somebody there before us, then they didn't give a shit about Jim. Where is this woman?
Your phone vibrates, Zach. As soon as the question is answered or asked, it's your retainer. It simply says, she's gone.
A text. Leave. Destroy the phone. I'll get you a new one. We'll meet up later.
No reply. You assume she did what she was supposed to.
I take my phone. I turn it off. I take out the battery. Take out the SIM card.
As usual. Yeah.
Do I have to rush a test? Do I have to rush a test for just a small lighter flame, or does it need to be a proper flame? I don't know where the limit is on that one.
Oh, you mean the fear?
Yeah.
Frenzy? I typically don't worry too much about tiny flames. It's once they get to like a Zippo lighter flame compared to like a Bic lighter flame. Zippo lighters where you might start worrying about frenzying because that flame can get pretty big.
Yeah, no, I just take the lighter and I burn the SIM card, and then I just drop the phone overboard with no battery in it.
Absolutely. Zach flips his phone open and very quietly, without saying anything, goes through the process of eliminating another burner phone. You've seen him do this a bunch.
I've taken the memory card out, though, so I've got that.
Knowing that, I know what that means.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Over and over. What now?
She's escaped.
Fucking told you. Just before the text message did. I told you first.
Well, we didn't get a name or anything on this girl.
No. Matt, is it okay if I have snapped a picture of her? Because I would have at some point, just for running it her like data through the...
me
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say he took a picture when the Inquisition guy was basically at her.
No,
right?
I took a picture when the Inquisition guy came straight up. Like, I wanted a full-on, like, good face shot because I wanted the tracking on him.
Gotcha.
Give me an intelligence resolve check as a memory check. And I'm looking for 2 successes. 2 successes, you would have taken a picture. Average difficulty.
3.
Okay, and you would have taken a picture.
Yeah, I've got a picture of her, nice and identifiable face.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take the memory card out, put it in another cheap-ass phone, turn that around and be like, oh.
She does not look familiar to you, Ava.
No clue.
Dakota, now that you see the picture, she too doesn't look familiar, but she's cute.
She's Jim's type.
Picked her up at a casino last night, offered her money, took her back.
And
Which
then
casino?
I know which casino is at because that's what I heard from one of my contacts, right?
You would know the name of the casino. It's like it's a shitty hole in the wall. Like it's got roulette. It doesn't have like blackjack or anything. She said she worked at a casino. It's likely she was just a bartender there.
Yeah,
You
like a
okay with me
garbage
just calling
casino.
it hole in the wall?
Yeah, let's go. Let's call a hole in the wall.
Hole in the wall casino.
Ugh.
Fucking bad name.
She probably works there. Had a name tag that was ripped off.
Well, then we should at least be able to go there and get more information. Where is it located in the city?
Lower West Side.
Fuck.
Ventrue territory.
Investigating in adventure territory could be dangerous if you don't ask for permission.
So, Ava, how is it that you got roped into all this? Because this was mine and Zach's little endeavor. Who told you what was going on?
Siana did. Anything really that goes through to the prince, well, not everything, but some things go around, and I'm sure because it was the two of you and we all have history together, it was brought to my attention.
The history of your coterie over the course of a decade has been propagated insanely. Lots of fake stories attached, but none of them are good. While you certainly helped the Camarilla rise to power, your reputation as a four together was horrible. And that is used against you at any opportunity if they believe they can get something out of it.
The Loud Ones, they call us. A fitting name for a coterie.
So says them.
You do realize that if we're going to stick it together any longer than tonight, we'll actually need a name.
I like the Loud Ones. Embrace
I know
what they
you
call
do.
you. Embrace it.
I had the room next to
You
you.
know what? Dakota, for the first time, looks at Ava and is like, yeah. Like, she did that. She embraced the pup. She embraced it all. She gets that. Well said, Ava.
Ava, something you would also know, and this is also important for chat to know. Dakota is no longer blood bonded. Dakota was offered a choice by the prince to continue or to let it slide. Dakota made the choice to let go, but has been loyal as though she never stopped.
Ava respects that for sure. And that's probably something Dakota and Ava would have made a mutual understanding of over the time, that Ava's like, that's awesome. Good for you. I respect that.
So if Siana's snooping about because of this and is concerned, what, you're gonna go back and report to her? I say she should be able to pull some kind of strings to find out this woman that works in the hole in the wall.
Or we could simply go there.
Perhaps. It's not really our usual.
What do we know about that area and that being in like somebody else's domain?
You have to ask the kindred to be able to enter their domain. You have to make sure that you get permission to be there. There's a certain amount of leeway when you walk in that you're like, oh, I'm still looking for you, but after you stay too long, it's kind of obvious that you're just dicking about in their terrain. Correct, Mathis?
Yep, you are correct. Every territory is run a little differently as well. You kind of have to think of it as though it's a medieval kingdom.
Okay.
While there's the king at the top whose word is law, power is dictated to dukes, barons, and lords, and they get to run their land as they see fit. And should anything, and the king is mostly ignores it unless it directly correlates or butts against their own laws. So the Ventrue territory is run by a very small Ventrue council with Cammy at the head, of course.
Do they like her?
Well, that's the funny thing. It depends on who you ask. Each Ventrue has a different opinion of Cammy. Some call her a betrayer, some call her a master manipulator, some call her a deal maker, some just call her a blue blood. And this is just what they do. Eventually all Ventrue turn on each other for power.
This is important because of my relation to Cammy if I go into that territory.
The council
That's-
is 4 strong, though you only know the name of Cammy that sits on it. And maybe one other.
So
That would
could we?
require an intelligence politics roll if you want to know.
Maybe. Are we? Is it known, Zach, amongst us that you and Cammy are still speaking? Like,
He wouldn't
How-
super hide it. Ave would definitely know because he shows
I
up
would
at
know.
Elysium with her.
okay.
It's up to, like, is Dakota been to Elysiums or stuff?
Yeah, I would say
I would
yeah.
have to.
In which case, you'll have seen Zach with Cammy.
again, I apologize, it's kind of random knowledge inserted, but Elysiums, you bring that up. When Elysiums happen, all kindred are welcome, as Elysiums have been in the past. It was only during that weird reign where there was no prince and a new prince where Elysiums was Camarilla only for the most part. Now, though, Elysiums have been open to anarchs, Camarilla, wanderers alike, as long as they follow the rules.
Can I use status instead of the politics here, or are we just going flat politics?
Yep, nope, status works as well.
Okay. I'll add the difference in the stats then. 2. You know what? I'm going to willpower that. I want names.
Okay. Anyone else want to make a roll?
4. Oh,
Okay.
No, actually 6, because I got 2 10s.
Okay. Anybody else? Intelligence, politics. And you may add the difference of status to it as well.
I will do
Add
that.
a +1. Okay, 3 successes. Would you like to roll, Dakota, or are you good?
This is not. I don't think this would be Dakota's like.
You might have heard in passing, so I'm okay with you rolling at least intelligence politics.
Okay.
You don't get necessarily names. You do deal with political nonsense, and working for the Ventrue when needed has happened in the past.
Okay. Well.
One success. Fantastic. Yeah, no names come to your mind. Ava, a name comes to mind, beyond Cammy, obviously. A man by the name of Horatio Ballard sits on the council as well. A very powerful man with pockets deeper than any Ventrue you've ever met. He is a strong, influential type. Beyond that, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Sovereign sits on the council. And the final one that sits on the council is a man by the name, a young up-and-comer. Well, he looks young anyway. Kevin Jackson.
Okay.
And plus Cammy makes the council of 4.
Who was the second one you said? I didn't catch his name. Alan.
Horatio. Sorry, not Horatio Ballard. The other one.
Yeah.
The other one's name is Alan Sovereign.
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 Sovereign. Okay.
Sovereian.
Gotcha.
Or I-N, rather. You know the depths. You've also heard the rumors of the depths of Mr. Ballard's pockets. However, details on the other two beyond names, and other than them being influential, are minimal, at least currently. I know you rolled really well. If there's any important details, I'll slip them to you.
Yeah. I'll slip you a quick message in chat. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. Unlikely, but
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen anything there.
Cool.
But those are the names of the council members. Ava, you know Cammy and Ballard. Zach, you know the others as well. Getting a hold of Horatio Ballard is impossible. Cammy has been very, very, very busy trying to play messenger girl between the Ventrue Council and the Primogen Council, especially with how tense things are between the Toreador and the Ventrue, never mind the rest of it all. But you might be able to reach Cammy if you try hard enough. Or you could always try for one of the other two, though that's if you want to reach out at all, if you think you can get around without being seen. You also know that kindred have abilities. Some, not all. This isn't in V5, but this is an old V20 thing that I am going to homebrew to a certain degree, though it doesn't matter to your characters. Kindred have an ability to know when other kindred step on their turf, even if they're not there. Something innate in the blood for some. Ventrue almost always know. Their territory and their domain is very important. Now, whether they know who it is, that doesn't seem like it, at least from what you've been able to tell. But they know when other hunters step on their hunting grounds, so to speak.
Well, there are some Ventrue we could go to for permission, but quite honestly, I try to steer as far away from some Ventrue territory as I can. Don't like to really mess with them right now.
I'm not exactly going to leave the lead hanging.
I understand.
She doesn't remember anything of you, Dakota, in case you're wondering.
I'm not.
I know. You should
But I
be.
appreciate it, I think. Okay. If Siana is asking for this information, shouldn't we just tell her?
At a guess, maybe Siana's wondering because Bella gave you permission. If that gets cocked up, and she has evidence of it, she can pull an over on Bella.
Yes, I also think she told me just because she knows that I am close with the two of you, or at least
Yeah,
was
she did it out
close.
of the kindness of her unbeating heart.
We have a good relationship, Zach. It's not all about manipulation. I wouldn't expect either of you to understand.
Me neither.
I am hurt by your words.
No, you're not.
Zach, affectionately squeezes Ava's shoulder.
So, what's the play here? We can't just go walking into Ventrue territory and asking about some fucking waitress at a hole in the wall.
I recommend we get permission.
You too.
There is
Oh,
also
great.
one other option.
Oh, fuck.
Takes a little bit for it to come to the surface. Ava wouldn't think of it because it wouldn't make sense.
Send a Ghoul in?
No. Still in Ventrue territory, but there is a kindred Switzerland just on the borders. It's always a place you could plan to meet if you ever choose to.
Ava, how's your relationship with Olli these days?
Olli. Now that's a name that you only ever hear in passing, and usually under whispered breaths. Some believe the butcher turned a leaf, became a businessman, funnily enough. Others think it's all just a cover to hide his true monstrous nature. Whatever the case, there's one thing that's been very true about Olli lately. He's certainly been a much better Nosferatu. You're not sure what he's been up to. And a silent Olli is a dangerous one.
Dakota goes, is this the part where we get to party?
Well, it'll take a while to reach out to a Ventrue. I was going to recommend we go party beforehand.
Hey, Ava. When was the last time you went in a bar?
still
Probably
go to
last night,
bars.
knowing you.
Not
Yes.
some swanky fucking place, a bar.
No, we've got to celebrate in style. I was going to try and get you into the asylum.
The fuck is the asylum?
Dakota, the Asylum is a very exclusive club. It sits on the rack. Somewhere.
Oh, right, okay.
However, unlike the rest of the rack, it is not open feeding grounds. It is exclusive. Getting in there is difficult, if not nigh impossible, without knowing the right people.
It only seems apropos that we go clubbing, Ava.
Hmm.
Last time I got somebody important in my life killed, we just did it in the opposite order.
True, and a bit more messily, but there is a catch. I got us a +1 for yesterday. We'll have to see if we can persuade them.
And that's only going to be a +1 at most.
I don't think we need to worry about that. Both me and Ava have permanent tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, are you asking me on a date?
Dee, do you fancy going to the bar with me?
Do I have to fancy it? Fuck yeah.
So the plan then is to feed first before making any rash actions?
Yeah, we probably should do that.
How would we normally reach
Yes.
out to a Ventrue to arrange meeting them Like, what would be the way we do that?
Your best bet is either know where they are or wait for them to find you if you linger around long enough. You are to declare yourself, of course, but that doesn't mean it's easy to do. The first night, if you wish to find somebody, you put a word out. You find a kindred, maybe a Ventrue, and let them know. There's a few kindred who are looking to perform some actions within Ventrue territory, and they'll typically scurry out and return to you within a night or two, with either a meeting place or straight denial.
Okay. Do I know the faces of these kindred just to, like, glance at, like, from Elysium or somewhere? I know the names.
For you, yes. There's a few people you know you could go to. It wouldn't be the main council members, but there's one or two lower ranking ones that you could get in contact with.
Specifically, like, do I know the faces of, like, Kevin and Alan?
Yes, you know what they look like.
Okay.
So to the bar.
We can drop off a message. We can go clubbing. And hopefully then make our way there afterwards the last half of the night, if that's okay.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Do we want to let the Ventrue know that we're chasing a second Inquisition lead? Might spark a fire under them. I wouldn't want to let the rest of the tower know.
I'm hesitant to give them any information. I truly do not trust the Ventrue at all.
Then we should keep it to ourselves. They don't need to know why we're there. If we are acting on behalf of the prince and the literal lapdog of the prince, then we should.
Your powers only extend so far. I admire how much you've done, but remember, Bella sends you places. When you're acting on your own, I don't believe you have the power just to wander in.
No. Just because we are asking for permission to enter does not mean that we have to tell them every reason why.
Fair enough, but they're going to want to ask.
There's a problem, however. Maybe it slipped your mind because caught up in the business of it all. But Dakota still doesn't look quite right.
Oh, she hasn't gone back yet.
Taking her out in public would be a huge risk for Masquerade breach.
What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that?
I point at the claws, just like casually.
What? So, I'll put gloves on.
The nails and claws are much too long to put gloves over without ripping them.
Yes, I don't think that will really do well out in the public. How long does it take for those to retract?
You don't know.
It comes and goes.
Oh, damn.
Can't we just go to Olli's bar?
We can do. But it'd be a shame for you to miss out. But if you're not hungry, we can go another time. Maybe we can pick up Olli, but getting 2 plus
but
1s...
I can't make it go away, so...
Dakota, have you heard of cosplay?
Fuck is a cosplay?
Zach, your phone starts to ring. You have a second one, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
It's the lieutenant.
Lieutenant, you mean the police dispatcher?
Your contact that you sent the face to.
Yeah.
Police dispatcher is who it is?
Yeah. Access to police database, but no real power to enact huge change.
Okay. They're calling.
Hello?
Zach. Sorry it took me so long to get back to you.
Hi, Ryan. What's up?
It's a long night. Just been busy. Very, very busy. Shit's not quiet. Hasn't been forever. I got the message. I can look that up, but I'm going to need something in return, not money.
Joe, what do you need?
We're gonna look into something. There's been some gang disturbances out in East Village. You think you could take a look at that and take care of it?
I can have a look at it. Can't guarantee much, though. You know how gang disturbances are.
Yeah, I don't expect you to necessarily fix it, but an attempt, or at least any information. A lot of house robberies down there, and unfortunately our forces spread way too thin to take care of everything. I've got family that lives out there, and I'm worried about them.
Tell you what, I've got some prints that need running. If you can run those as well, I'll have a look.
It might take me a few nights. It's not going to be quick.
Not urgent.
All right. Deal. Send me the prints when you can. I'll start looking through when I can. Promise me, though?
I'll have a look into it. Again, can't promise it's going to be urgent. I've got...
Should say, promise me you're going to look into it. And he laughs.
Sure.
All right. Well, get back to me when you can, and I'll do the same. Should I tell my wife you said hi?
Let me just check his backstory. Yes, he is still with his wife. Sorry, I was writing those at 2 a.m. Maybe not. I know things are still rocky with you.
All right. Well, have a good night. I'm going to go crash. I'll start looking tomorrow. I have tomorrow off.
Good luck.
There too. Click.
I'm going to try and get a face ID on that. I've also got some prints from the... And I pull out the baggie with the needle in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this, Dakota?
You're muted, by the way.
A baggie.
He had a needle in his arm.
Oh yeah. He OD'd.
Or someone OD'd him.
Probably
Seems
the more
a bit
likely story.
too convenient. Why would a would-be rapist take his victim back home and then deliberately OD with her on a chair?
That's what I was saying earlier. Whoever was there didn't give a shit about Jim. They just needed him out of the way.
Or the girl. Zach looks curiously at Dakota because Dakota's first worry wasn't the woman, which is normally Dakota's first worry.
What do you mean? I asked about the woman immediately.
Yeah, but in this case, your mind went to Jim first.
I don't know what you mean to him first. I mean...
Just on this one instant, like, why would someone leave him unconscious as opposed to why would someone leave the woman tied up?
Well, I didn't see I was in the frenzy...
Blinded by frenzy.
Oh, okay,
by the frenzy.
yeah.
So I didn't even really notice the woman. It wasn't
True.
even clear to me that happened till you brought it up.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, good point. Well, I can run those, but it's going to take time.
I can't go party.
We could disguise you, but it seems like a long way to go for a masquerade breach.
Fine.
Agreed.
I'll stay here and bathe in the moonlight.
We could just give it a few nights. Just lay low.
Ollie's bar has a back entrance. We could always drive there. Keep your hands down.
How frequently does this happen, Mathis, to
What?
Dakota now? The staying of the like animalistic form.
It only happens when you frenzy. Dakota would know that.
I mean, I could get a jacket and hide my hands. Oh, and I bought a pair of sunglasses. She's like, you guys watch as she pops into like the bottom porthole, and you hear her like thud and land on the bottom floor, and it sounds like she's just wrestling through junk. Until she pops back out with a pair of sunglasses.
Sunglasses at night. How 80s of you.
I don't get the reference.
It's a song.
Okay, how about if we want to go straight to Ollie's bar? Ava, are you going to be okay meeting with Olli?
Well, I knew this day would have to come at some point. I've wrote to him. I've seen him around. But...
He doesn't like you very much.
I know. Well, if I have you guys with me, maybe it'll help bring back some good old memories, not just the bad ones. Maybe. The gang all back together again, you know?
It didn't really work out very well.
That was not very promising.
Remember we were called the Loud Coterie, and now you wish to go into Ventrue territory to find down someone connected with the Second Inquisition.
I do not want to go into Ventrue territory. I think the two of you might be able to go. Toreador and Ventrue do not get along right now.
Feel free to stay at the Ivory Tower if you want. But I think Siana wanted more from you.
You can go there, find out your information. And then the three of us, four of us, can move from there.
If we're going to get there and we need to get Dakota there, we're going to need your car.
I'll just put on a jacket and hide my hands. It's fine.
And
all right.
we walk?
How else do you plan to get there?
Through the north side, through downtown, and into the lower west side. That would take most of the night.
To Olli's bar?
You're gonna walk?
Olli's bar's in Chinatown. That's right next door to where we currently stand.
No.
It borders Chinatown in the lower west side. He is technically within Ventrue territory.
Yep.
Oh.
And the docks are north of the center downtown. We've got to cross half the city at least.
I thought it was
Right.
much closer than that. Do we have the map where it's pinged? Because
I can dictate. Would you have the map open?
Is that the one?
Chicago. If you want to use the Chicago by Night one, page 64, I believe.
Hi, if you have
okay.
Chicago Night, feel free to follow along here. Alternatively, just go to Google Maps and
It's
pick up a
page
picture of
57.
Chicago.
That was my plan, was to just pick up just to go to Google Maps. Because it'll be a lot faster than opening the PDF and all that.
I mean, I use this map because it's a little cleaner. Let me link it to you. I can take a picture of it and just send it to you in the chat.
I think it's linked in the chat or pinned. I think I pinned it.
Did you?
Even if you didn't, here it is.
I did pin it in the chat. It is pinned. You can totally get that.
Okay.
And there it is in case you want it very quickly.
Okay.
So rear the north is where we are now, right? Or just north of that?
We're on the Northerly Isles.
Northerly Isles is where you're at.
Yeah, the
Probably
Northerly
the
Isles.
northern tip of the Northerly Isles,
Yeah.
where the roads meet the shore over there. Do you have the map open, Dakota?
Oh, I see it. Sorry, it took a second.
Okay, so here's the danger, and here's why it would take a long time. First, Ollie's Bar. Do you see 55? Route 55 down right below Lower West Side? Okay,
Yes.
see that white road that has Brighton Park that runs diagonal up to it?
Yes.
Okay, so that chunk that's carved out right below 55 and right above the white line, that's the territory they took from the Anarchs and gifted to the Ventrue. Right in the corner, right where 55 and that road meet, that's where Ollie's Bar is.
And we can't
Right
go
on
through
the-
Chinatown.
And you can't go through Chinatown. It is forbidden by the Tremere. And going south means going through Anarch territory. And Anarch territory on the border of the Camarilla can be rather violent.
And I would not go through Anak territory, Dakota.
The safest bet is going north, back through downtown Chicago, hit the highway of 94, and then follow 94 until it turns to 90, then right on 55, and then off. And that's if you take a car.
So,
gonna
question. So, how does Dakota get back into Ollie's Bar on a frequent basis? Because that's where she's
You don't
been.
go frequently. You go a couple
Oh.
times a week, at most. You're busy. But you get
Oh, okay. But how would I get there? Because I don't have a car.
You would walk. You have celerity. You can move pretty quickly.
Okay.
But it would take a lot of the night, and usually it would be like a trip to get there, to spend the next night there, and then a trip back. And you have ways to not worry about where you're going to spend the night.
So this NS territory down here, that's the Anarch, like where Bronzeville and Oakland and everything are?
That's all Anarch territory. It's all Anarch turf. Just below 55. Consider that the border.
Oh, okay. So
that
everything
one
below
chunk.
55.
Yeah, everything below 55.
For reference to chat, I will probably make the next session a overlay that allows you to see a huge map, since maps and terrain domains are going to be much more important this time around.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's a walk.
So, okay, but even though his stuff is in Ventrue, he's been given permission to have a bar where anybody can come.
Exclusively by the prince, so the Ventrue can't do anything about it. By word of decree, by Her Royal Highness, this bar belongs to Olli, regardless of clan within Ventrue territory.
So visiting his bar is not an issue, even though we have to walk into Ventrue territory.
Correct. Once you're in the
Okay.
bar, you're fine.
Yeah,
The
effectively,
bar is
like,
so
we are
close to
going
the-
to his domain, so we can pass through our domains to get there, but
So-
we have to be only going there.
Right. Okay. So passing through is also okay, and then you're safe once you're there. Okay. I mean, if you guys have a car, that's chill. Dakota doesn't have a ride.
Yes, and you also look kind of obvious, so we should probably use Ava's ride.
That's fine. That's fine. We can do that. So Ollie's place is just open for anybody. It's a safe place.
It is a Switzerland of sorts. It is very similar rules to Elysium, barring a few important differences, but no violence, no masquerade breaches. Business and politics are welcome so long as it's kept private, and you're welcome to feed there. However, Ollie's bar is not very popular, so to speak. It's not filled with people like the Rack. So feeding there is doesn't run a risk, but you can't do it nearly as often as you would at, like, say, the Rack.
Okay.
So if we want to go, I can drop off a message on the way and meet you there.
What's the plan, out of curiosity, once you get to Ollie's bar? What are you looking to do? Just talk to Olli?
No, I think the plan was we were going to celebrate because we don't have direct action yet for this Ventrue territory situation to go.
I was going to drop off a message while we're en route.
Yeah,
We'll get that message
we
filtered through.
can't go research this woman yet because we haven't been given permission, so we're just waiting. We got to wait it out.
Who are you dropping a message to, Zach? Are you...
I'd go find one of the Ventrue I know, whether they'd be probably in Elysium or in the Ivory Tower, around the Ivory Tower on politics, or I'd pop into the Asylum if I know one of them hangs out there, or I'd just find one of them in their domain if I have to pass through their domain and say hi, or if I know someone who can pass it on who is one of those people.
It's very likely, if you decide to go to Elysium, or Asylum, not Elysium, that's different, the Asylum Club, it's very likely you'll run into a Ventrue there.
What are the regulations around me being a hound? Chat's asking, and it's a good question. Like, am I allowed to pass through people's territory?
Only if you're on hound business.
Got it. It has to be
If
official.
you're not on hound business, you're still a kindred, has to follow the laws.
Don't deserve to be there. Okay.
Yeah, like, I assume it's the phrase, unleash the hounds, like, when Bella unleashes you, you have her permission. When she doesn't unleash you, you're a normal kindred.
Okay.
Whereas the sheriff has permission to kind of do whatever, right? Because the sheriff's more autonomous.
Sheriff has open
Yeah.
book to walk and be where he wishes. A hound, while respected, you
Right.
don't sway unless you're there on business.
Honestly, I think Asylum would be a better place for us to go if we are looking to talk with a Ventrue.
Again, can't really take Dakota there right now. I can pop into the Asylum, find the Ventrue I know.
Okay, but taking her to this bar would be a better option?
It has a back entrance. She doesn't need to be in the public area. Sorry, Dakota. You don't need to do it in the public area.
And Ollie's bar, I could be in the public space, right? It's a safe
His
place for me to
rules-
be.
His rules are, all supers are welcome.
With hands that are obviously masquerade breaches? Because we get mortals in there, right?
Well, you need to worry about that, of course.
Oh.
How about this? I'll just fucking stay here. It seems like the issue is not the going, but my hands, so just wait it out. Fuck it.
I'm in agreement. I think we should all just lay low for a few days. If you ask for permission from the Ventrue, they're probably not going to get to us tonight.
Okay.
It'll probably take a few days.
Here's the issue. The Second Inquisition guy saw that woman's face. They're going to be looking for her. We're on a timer. Dakota, I suggest you come with us because otherwise Olli and Ava might have a little bit of a falling out. You're one of the few people who can calm him down. Your ability to mediate between kindred is pretty decent. He respects you.
So I'm riding with Ava.
All right, then. Let's do this.
So Ava and Dakota are heading to Ollie's bar, driven by your chauffeur. While Zach heads down to the Rack to Asylum. And part ways but the camera lingers on Zach as he makes his way down downtown Chicago. Walking is all you really need. Doesn't take all that long.
I'll also let my herd member know that I'm definitely going to be meeting her soon tonight.
Absolutely. You shoot that text message off. When you head to Asylum, slowly the sidewalks crowd with people. First, it's just a couple here and there. A little crowd of 5 friends. It's a bachelorette party over there, you can tell, because it obnoxiously says bachelorette on this big ribbon across her chest, and she clearly has vomit stains all over her shirt. Her friends hold her up and carry her. Make it to a corner where they can puke as you walk by its rancid smelling. But the further the sidewalks pack, the more you smell food. The sweat, the blood, the vitae of kine, an untold amount. Though which one of these you can feed on and which ones pose a danger, it's hard to tell. At least while you're in downtown Chicago, you're relatively safe. And eventually, a 3-story building, all painted pitch black. And nice, bold lettering and hot pink neon lights says Asylum, with a smile next to it, teeth. A line on the outside wraps around the building, down the block, but in front, you see 2 large bodyguards. One of them you recognize. He's here almost every night, at least since you've been coming. And he turns people away. One of them starts shouting, a drunk woman, saying she deserves to be in here. She's on that list, goddammit, check it a 3rd time. But before long, he picks her up and pushes her to the sidewalk. Her dress rips a little bit as she crawls, and one of her high heels goes flying into the road as a car pops over it and crushes it under its weight. She swears, begins to cry as somebody walks over and helps her up and walks her down the sidewalk. Whether they know her or not, you're not sure, and honestly, it doesn't matter. You see Zach walk up to the front of the line, a few people swearing at you, what the fuck are you doing? No cutting, but there sits Ryan. He looks up to you, Mr. Heloise. Tonight, just you.
Just me.
He steps aside. Enjoy your evening, Mr. Heloise.
Thank you very much. Hope work's good to you.
Always. He lets you through and steps back, continues dealing with them. When you make your way inside, it is loud, bassy club music ripples through. You can feel the vibrations on the floor, mixed with the vibrations of tens of people all on the dance floor, this small dance floor, crammed together. Wits plus awareness.
Okay. Three.
Zach has his eyes cast across the floor and looks. You can see in the middle some feedings happening. That's not out of the ordinary for here. But a few kindred throughout, at least you imagine their kindred, meet your eyes. Some nod, some break their gaze as soon as you meet theirs, and others just stare. You're here looking for a Ventrue, though. And as Zach continues to push his way through the crowds, 2 bartenders working this small bar trying to keep everybody drank and fed. In the back corner, talking to a group of 2 others, you see a man in a similar blue suit, though not black shirt or red, but contrasted by white instead. And on his collar, a pin, a scepter crossed. He wears it proudly. All Ventrue do. He's having a conversation. You don't recognize his face, but doesn't necessarily matter. What does Zach do next?
I have enough status, I assume that people like that would probably at least recognize Zach.
You've had people recognize you in the past. Sometimes they recognize you by look. Sometimes they recognize you if you explain who you are. Sometimes they don't.
Okay.
But you have a reputation that precedes you.
I'll stop nearby, like 2 tables down. I'll wait until I can catch his eye. And then I'll just give him an inclined nod and see if he recognizes me enough or wants to have a conversation or come over. If not, I'll go over to him at some point.
Okay.
I don't want to disturb him. Don't definitely want to step on another Ventrue's turf. That would be...
How long are you willing to wait? Like, what's Zach's max time?
20 minutes?
20 minutes? 20 minutes pass and he does not meet your gaze. Lost in conversation with two beautiful people. It's a woman and a man. They're young. Maybe a couple? You're not sure. The woman doubles over in laughter and spills a bit of her drink on the floor. Whoa! Tries not to slip on it. He reaches out and grabs her hand and balances her. Gives her a charming smile and continues conversation.
Okay, easy enough. It's good quality establishment, right? So they've probably got people walking around with drinks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure. I go over to one of the people walking around with drinks and just hand them like $50.
It's a young man who wears only tight, short shorts. No shirt, no pants, and he is immaculately crafted.
You can feed openly here, right? Pretty openly.
Openly. There are still mortals here who don't know what this place is, but in the lust of the dance in the floor, feedings happen quite regularly.
Okay.
If you're looking for something more specific, type of resonance or what have you, you could always request.
No, just curious about how open it was in here because I know this is Asylum. So I go over to the guy, hand him some money. Can you hand my friend a drink and tell him that I'd like to speak with him at some point in the next 10 minutes?
He smiles. Anything specific, sir?
Something expensive but that leaves you enough change.
He gives you a wink and a wry smile, and he just nods, takes your money, puts it into the rim of his tight booty shorts. A little bit of the money hangs out. You can see it joining a few others, almost like a stripper. And he walks over to the bar. Looks like he orders something, and you see the bartender grab a bunch of different alcohols and start mixing a nice drink. A Manhattan, actually. Not quite top shelf from what you can see, but definitely up there. Some change is handed to him, and you see him leave the coin on the table and put the bills into the rim of his pants. And he walks over, waits patiently for a bit before the Ventrue very generously turns to him and ushers him over. When you see there's conversation, there's a look of pleasant surprise on his face as he's handed the Manhattan. Looks over as the other one is pointing it out, and his eyes meet yours. Much like yours, his are a nice, crisp blue. He smiles at you and gives you a nod and continues with his conversation thereafter.
I'll find an area, ideally a little booth with like a couple of seats that's out enough of the way that it won't be disturbing. Also, out of consideration of him, I don't want him to be too obviously seen talking to a caitiff.
Well, lucky for you, there is a second floor, a VIP area that certain members are allowed, including yourself. Zach, you make your way up the stairs. It's a spiral staircase, and there's a nice velvet room that overlooks the dance floor, barred by two more bouncers and a velvet rope across. The bouncers change often. You don't recognize these two faces, but as you walk up and give you their names, they check a list, nod, open the velvet rope, and let you inside. Here, it's all kindred and ghouls. Nothing else. They keep to themselves. It's not packed. There are private corners and private booths where business is being discussed, but there's plenty of open ones, and Zach finds, as you said, one that sits two, with a small table in between. You sit there for another hour, though you can see him conversating, and he attempts to make his way to the stairs slowly, though he does get distracted. But eventually, this man makes his way up. He has a mustache and a clean face otherwise. Nicely combed hair, very short, crisp, and his suit is fine pressed. The drink hasn't even been touched by the time he gets up to the velvet VIP room, and eventually he's let in. When he looks around, he sees your face and gives an eyebrow raise and a smile and takes his first sip of his drink before he sits down and gently places the drink in front of him with a clack. His arms cross, and he just looks at you, but he smiles.
Sorry to tear you away from your night.
He shakes his head. Don't apologize, sir. It was getting boring. How can I help you?
I've got some business that needs to take me into the edge of the Lower West Side, and I was hoping I could speak to someone about that.
And who is it that I'm talking to?
Zachary Heloise.
There's a moment. He thinks, and then he grins. I've heard that name. Didn't know the face to it.
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
And yours, though I'll keep my name to myself for now. Mr. Heloise, interesting things that follow you. A few years ago, it was destruction and disaster, but now? There's even a few friends of mine who have used you to take care of their messes. I hear you do good work. So what is it that Zachary Heloise needs in Ventrue territory? Maybe I can help you out.
Unfortunately, the people I work for also benefit from my discretion. I'm sure you would appreciate.
Of course. But I can't go back with nothing, you understand. I can't walk to the council and say, Zachary Heloise, the fixer of some kindred, wants to come into our territory to do a job, but he won't tell me what. You gotta work with me, man. I can't help you if you don't help me.
No, that's fair. I have reason to believe that Second Inquisition might be tailing a lead in your area. I was hoping to be able to quash that lead before it leads to anything.
They have been a pain in the ass recently, haven't they?
They have been everywhere.
How far into the territory do you need to go? Do you even know?
Where is the hole in the wall?
The hole in the wall is also kind of on the outskirts, just a little further in than Olli's bar.
Just a little bit in before the outskirts. Maybe a little bit further if I need to trace this person beyond that.
Do you tell him a place?
No.
All right, Zachary Heloise, you know how this shit works. I'd love to help you. You've done great work for my kind. But at the same time, we need to know whose territory you plan on bouncing on. It could be that the place you want to go is someone specific's territory, and if they don't know you're going to be there and you end up showing up, I'm not asking for details on who you're going to meet or what you're going to do. I just need to know where. Give me a name.
I'll give him a street, probably about 2 streets over.
From the place?
Yeah.
Can I please?
Near there.
Hmm?
I'll say it's
yeah,
near
yeah.
there. I won't tell him, I won't say it's that street specifically, in case it is just on the boundary, but I tell him it's near there, so that if I need to have
Deception
a
roll,
location-
please.
Sure.
It would be, I'd say composure plus subterfuge, because you're not openly lying, you're just trying not to tip your hand.
Yeah, that's fair.
You'll get a roll as well.
3.
1, 2, also 3. So tie goes to the player, as always. Oh, that narrows it down. There are a few of us that have feeding grounds in that area. Is that all you're going to work with me on? Is that it?
I'm sure that you can appreciate that discretion
subtlety,
is
I
something my
understand it.
clients appreciate. And in exchange, you now know my face. If you ever need something done, you can find me.
I appreciate that. But what are you willing to offer the council for permission? That's going to be the more important part. I got to walk in with the deal.
I understand. The thing I offer them is the fact that the Second Inquisition are sniffing around in their territory.
He scoffs. Second Inquisition are fucking everywhere in Chicago. Something better than that. What do you got?
Out of interest, what would I normally offer someone in this situation?
Depends on the person. He's being very vague on purpose.
That's fine, but what would normally be sort of a vaguish thing I would offer?
It literally could be anything. He is literally leaving it open like this because Zach might even be able to tell. He's waiting to see what you're going to throw out before he says anything. It could be feeding. It could be money. It could be a boon. Like, what do you want to offer?
Put it this way, it's a lead, it might not turn out to be anything. So I can't really offer anything particularly deep. Is there anything you have in mind?
Ventrue are always wanting. But now that I know you're Zachary Heloise, I could use you. I'm sure they could use you. I'll put this on the table, though I can't guarantee this is what they're going to ask for. You're Zachary Heloise. You're one of the coterie. You're part of the reason this city has went to the shithole it has, though I will admit, most of you have done a great job at rebuilding that reputation of yours. But there's a certain somebody that sits in our territory that a few people aren't particularly happy with. I don't need you kicking him out or killing him. I know he's one of yours. Would you be willing to listen in at the bar occasionally and feed us information? Not long, not eternity, but when we call on you, when we need you to do it.
I'll be quite honest. I'm afraid I already have a previous engagement with Mr. Hopkins, and it would compromise me to do so. Otherwise, I would agree and cross business purposes, which I'm sure you don't particularly want. So I apologize, but I'm afraid that would be impossible.
I asked you that because of your history with Mr. Hopkins, but loyal. I can respect loyalty. All right.
Loyal when I'm working.
Of course. Of course. All right, Mr. Heloise. I'll bring your proposal and your vague idea of what you plan on doing to the council. Are you on a time constraint?
It's the Second Inquisition. If I don't get to that lead first, either they'll get to it or turn out to be nothing.
Is this lead a kindred? Are we worried about one of our own?
I don't think it's a kindred, no.
All right. All right. I'll see what I can do for you. But it's going to come at a cost. Something has to be paid, especially if whatever you end up doing ends up having to be cleaned up or is noisy or causes us problems. But
if it's noise or causes a problem, I'll make sure. But when we find the domain whose owner we can speak to, we'll make sure that we work something out with them. And I appreciate help.
I appreciate you coming to me. And he smiles. I guess I should give you my name then. Why don't we meet back here in 3 nights' time? This very table, at this exact hour. And when I see you, I'll give you your answer, and I'll even give you my name. He stands and picks up his drink and takes a second sip. Cheap shit. And he puts it down. You watched the drink get made. It was not cheap shit, but it wasn't expensive shit.
Oh, I assume for Ventrue like him, I was actually going to apologize about the drink at one point, but we got waylaid. Can I do a politics roll to try to think of something that I could offer him politically, which would be not too expensive, but to hasten the deal?
Intelligence plus politics, sure.
Because I know that the Second Inquisition don't have those constraints and act fast.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I will willpower that.
Okay.
2.
2 successes. The thing that comes to your mind immediately. A boon is always a nice, quick, easy way. You just know that shit can be pulled at the worst times.
If you can make that tonight, I would appreciate it. I can maybe offer you a trivial boon. I know it's trivial, but it might turn out to be nothing.
For tonight?
After tonight, it might not matter.
Are you offering me a favor, Mr. Heloise? And I am not a man that asks for trivial favors. Especially if you're going to ask me to leave the club and make haste tonight. I was having a good time. I haven't had dinner yet.
Tell you what. Pick your dinner, and I'll make sure that they appear at Olli's bar later on tonight. I'll get you takeaway.
Are they going to feed me information?
Probably not the information you want.
Give me the name of the person I'm going to be feeding from. Are you offering them to feed from your herd?
No, I was going to say pick your, one in here, and I just get them to go.
If you're doing that, then he kind of waves. I can have my choice of anybody in here, too. I don't need that. If you're offering him a dot of your herd, which you can do, that might be more appealing because it's got a specific dyscrasia to it.
Yeah, Zach wouldn't. He'd rate that highly because he keeps his herd secret again.
He scoffs. It doesn't scoff, but he just kind of hand waves it. A boon. Unless you're offering me a mortal spy.
I can offer you a boon on behalf of my coterie, then. Loud as they might be.
The coterie's getting back together? Well.
At least until this is solved.
All right, Mr. Heloise. He reaches out his hand. You have yourself a temporary deal. I'll see what I can do about getting you information tonight. I'll need a way to contact you. Do you plan on staying here?
No, I'll be at Olli's bar for the remainder of tonight. Until close enough to sunrise.
He nods.
If you can get that information to me tonight and we can sort this, you have yourself a minor boon from our coterie.
He nods. He thinks for a while and he nods. The rest of the drink's yours if you want it. Have a good night, Mr. Heloise.
Lovely to meet you.
And you. And he smiles and leaves. Back to mingling with the mortals. What does Zach do?
Leave.
Okay. Heading to Olli's place? Walking?
I will go past my herd.
Eventually, the herd does text you back and is excited to see you tonight.
I pop past.
And you feed one dot?
Feed one dot.
She thoroughly enjoys every minute of it. And then you walk?
I'm gonna get the bus.
Public transportation. Takes some time, especially get to the Lower West Side, but at least Olli is right off the highway, which is very nice. So
right
not
off
as
the highway, I'm not super in a rush.
Right.
The guy's gonna take his time to even find the Ventrue, even if he does go immediately, and it's not covered by the secondization as much, so easily done.
And so you leave Asylum, make your way to the nearest bus stop, and wait. Eventually, you start making your way to Olli's direction at Olli's bar. Now, Adam is driving Ava and Dakota, and our camera pulls way high and goes to the outskirts of downtown Chicago. I imagine it's been a rather quiet ride, or is there anything the two of you would like to discuss? It has been maybe even close to 10 years since the two of you have been together privately working.
Yeah.
Princess Bella is meowing like crazy. Meow, meow, meow. However, two of you are alone. And like I said, you're playing on the same side of the chessboard. You're just on different ends of that same side. Is it just tense silence for a long while?
I would say yes.
I was about to say, Dakota doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, there's that awkward piece. It's like, I probably should say something, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Dakota gives a
Same.
shit how she's doing.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
tense, awkward hour or so ride to Olli's bar. You don't talk to each other, and maybe occasionally you'll look over and you'll each look at each other and then
It
snap
might
away.
be like kind of small talk is what I would say.
Sure, just non-important nonsense.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
Weather's nice.
How's the weather? Yeah.
there's no personal conversation, no in-depth talk. It's all surface level and all superficial. A far cry from how it used to be. As you leave and make your way out, you start seeing train yards as you push out past Chinatown into the slums. Out here, it's a regular occurrence to hear distant gunshots, breaking glass, robberies on the side of the road. And the BMW in this part of town tends to bring attention. But your driver's good and nobody ends up stopping you. You actually do see a mugging happening in an alleyway as you drive by. The man is screaming for help as he's being kicked by two others. Adam continues. Doesn't stop. In the distance, you see A familiar location, though it wasn't as grand or beautiful, if it ever was beautiful, Ava, as it used to be, because it's been leveled completely. The spot of the old abandoned train yard. Your old haven. Place where so much happened. In the mess of all the final nights of season 1, the Camarilla eventually had to make the decision of what to do with your haven. And needing to find suitable punishment for your many, many transgressions against the Camarilla over the course of those few short 3 years, your haven was leveled and taken from all 4 of you, along with your feeding grounds. These past 10 years has been truly kindred life, feeding where only you have permission, the rack or a few other places depending on who you are. The feeding has become more difficult, especially as vampires from the east have made their way into Chicago and filled the ranks. It's one of the reasons Bella locked down Chicago 2 years after the end of season 1. Too many kindred and not enough kind to go around. And feeding grounds became prize possessions. It's almost a miracle you had a place all to your own back then. Now it's a distant memory, an echo of what used to be. As you drive by, off in the distance, maybe over the highway, you can see flat concrete as it's been repaved. New chain link metal fences that surround the area. Construction has begun on something, though you're not entirely sure what. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't belong to you anyway. And eventually you cross lines and make it into Ventrue territory. Olli's bar. Before you, on the same block a few buildings down. Doesn't look like a bar on the outside. It looks like a small business. 2 floors. Well kept. This whole area is nice. Relatively, considering where you are. But Ava, you notice, probably because you don't see or deal with as many of them where you are. Homeless litter this area. As you made way in, there was all little tent cities here and there. A few of them watch you as your car drives by. How obvious a black BMW is in this place. A few of them spit at you as you drive by. A couple shout. One even chases you as best he can, though he hobbles with a limp right leg. Throws an empty can and it hits the streets, never reaching. And as you make your way to this nice small business, there are still homeless that wander around the sidewalks, though only a couple of them. One of them sits directly outside of Olli's bar and jingles a can. But this small business on the outside is not just a front in any way. Dakota, you know, this is a proper business. Mortals run it. They have no idea of what truly lurks beneath, and they make some good money. Though
what is a business?
But what they do exactly isn't really all that known, other than that it's all by the books, as far as you've been told.
Okay.
And as you walk up, the homeless man with a scraggly beard and crazy wild eyes shakes his can at you, both of you, though his eyes stick to dear old Ava. Old veteran pay. I haven't eaten in days. Please, anything will help.
I don't know. Would I have change on me? I would have change on me for my cup.
Yeah.
Because this is my whole stick, right? Yeah. So I take the change out, whatever change I've got that would go in my usual homeless person cup.
Sure.
And I squat and drop it into... I try not to show my fingers as I drop it into his cup.
Dex plus stealth check. Yep.
All right. Hang on. I can do that. That's actually one of my better rolls. 3.
With 3 successes, your claws stay just under the lip of your sleeve and you drop the coins at the clatter. Though a couple of your fingernails do kind of touch the can and make a clinking noise, but could just be long fingernails for all.
Yeah.
And as the coins enter the can, he looks down and he smiles. Thank you. Madam, you look like you're well off. Maybe something, anything.
Ava
Ava
shoots him in
just-
the face.
Yeah, Ava just just watches that exchange and just kind of makes her way forward into the bar.
Really? You're gonna ignore I bitch! And he spits and he walks off, jingling change. Eventually, you make your way around the building and towards the back. And in the back, there's a stairwell that leads down to a door, rather sturdy-looking metal door. On the other side, you can hear rumblings, voices. Not a lot, but enough to hear on the other side. Dakota pushes on the door, as you do every time, and open your way to a small, hole-in-the-wall little bar on the downstairs of this little building. A few tables are scattered, a jukebox plays some music. Behind the bar, a man, mortal. You've seen him here a few times. He usually takes care of the bar when Ollie's not in.
Okay. That's what I need you to know.
Serving
Yep.
some drinks, looks over as the door opens, sees you, Dakota, and smiles. Good to see you. Beautiful as ever.
And your humor is...
He smiles, and he's got a couple of teeth missing. Looks as though Dakota, probably drug-induced loss of teeth.
Oh, okay.
Ava.
Long-term use. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
long-term use. Ava, gross.
Yeah.
You can smell his breath from here, even if you actually can't. And then as you walk by, and he goes, speaking of beautiful, who do we have here? Hot damn. And as you walk in, heads turn. Ava, you stick out like a sore fucking thumb. Everybody here is dressed moderately, or rather poorly. A few people are actually sleeping. There's a table with a couple people with their hands down and their eyes closed, and they're slowly breathing, sleeping. Others look like they've seen better days. They're frail and skinny and sickly. And then a few others that look relatively okay. Normal, drinking, chatting, men and women both. Maybe about 10 to 15 people all told in here.
Dakota looks at every one of them and goes, "Didn't your mother teach you not to stare? Fuck off."
Please, can I get a charisma plus intimidation? At a -2.
Oh, yeah, because, well, okay, yeah, they're all human, you're right.
A good chunk of them are. Maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of them are.
Yeah. Well, this will be horrible.
Here's 8 dice.
Yeah. No, I think actually that makes it a single die.
Okay. You shout, and a good number of eyes actually break away. They're scared, and but a few of them linger. The ones that linger, wits plus awareness.
Okay.
Just for Dakota.
Okay.
Oh. Still finding things going. Nope.
Miss Fail?
Mm-hmm.
A few eyes linger, and that is all you notice, before eventually you snarl enough and they either get bored or get the hint.
I gesture for a booth. Actually, Dakota, Ollie promised me I would have my stool.
Yep, absolutely. And there is a stool way at the end of the bar, up against a wall. It sticks out from the others because it's well worn. It's got scratches on it, probably from your fingers over the course of years. And when you do sit on it, it creaks just a little bit every time, reminding you that it's only a matter of time before this thing breaks. But for now, it holds you up nice.
My stool. I gesture so that Ava can sit on it. I'll do that thing, where you like hover behind a person at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, yeah.
She clears her throat and
The bartender
takes
walks over, take a seat, and walks over to you, to Dakota, and looks again at Ava, back down to Dakota. How can I help you? Ollie ain't in tonight, unfortunately, if that's who you're looking for.
When will he be back?
He shrugs. He doesn't fucking tell us anything, but
Of course.
it's kind of par for the course.
Well, I slam a hand down. We are celebrating.
Oh, we have a celebration? What are we celebrating? It's your new girlfriend. Congratulations.
Well, sure. I like pat Ava on the shoulder as if like, yeah, you're not my type. And then, yeah.
The rekindling of old friendships is what we're celebrating.
I was going to say letting go of the past.
That too.
Can it be both?
I think it has to be both of this coterie.
Darn fucking tootin' it can. And I like tap hard again.
He looks at you, and he raises an eyebrow. We drinking are we eating?
Well, to start, some wine, if you have any, in
He
this
doesn't-
establishment.
He completely ignores you and just looks at Dakota.
Let's get the lady some wine, if you have any.
God, barefoot Cabernet, is that all right?
Oh God.
Yes.
Sounds lovely.
Great. He reaches over, grabs one clean wine glass, and then looks around, realizes he's out, grabs a gross old sponge, and just starts cleaning it out the best he can. Wipes it down with a paper towel that's clearly been used a couple of times already before he crumples it in his hand and looks around and just kind of throws it on the ground. And then he kind of looks it up, pours, and hands you each a glass.
I stare at this. I can't actually drink this.
Correct, you can't blush of life.
I'm not even blushing of life for this. It's not even worth it.
That is so
Wow.
Toreador.
Yeah.
Do you just like tip it up to your lips and be like, mmm?
Yeah. I don't even know. No, you know what? It's not even that. I go to reach for it and realize I have my claws. And I tink on the glass and I'm like, I would never be able to pick this up with the length of the like claws I have. So
Yep.
I just slide it down to Ava as like a second glass.
Perhaps a cocktail with a straw for you.
Sure. I kind of look at Ava like, yeah, okay.
And I'll just take the second glass of wine and just put it over to the side.
But you mentioned dinner. I point at him.
Yes, and he nods to that.
Are you hungry? I'm hungry. I look at Ava. Some food.
My appetite has been satiated, thank you.
Well, fuck, I'm hungry. I'll eat then. Dakota's like, fuck, I was trying to be nice, but shit. She's clearly not good at this anymore. How does it work here at Olli's bar? Is it like a pick and choose? Is it like a...
Let's find out, shall we?
Okay.
So he smiles and he says, all right, just give me a sec. And he finishes dealing some drinks and whatnot and opens up the back door to what looks like and sounds like and smells like the kitchen area, and he shouts somebody's name. They come out. It's like, watch the bar. I got to take someone out back. And he nods. He says, all right, Dakota, follow me. Ava, or you didn't give your name, so pretty lady, just don't cause problems. Simple rules. Don't fight anybody, violence, that kind of thing. You don't look like the fighting type, but my expectations have been blown out before.
I don't plan on starting any fights, thanks. I'll
So
be
he
here.
So he takes Dakota and he walks through another back door. So there's 3 back doors, one to the kitchen, one to the bathrooms, and another one that leads to some back rooms. Not too many of them. He walks down a hall and says, we got a new one. Somebody just trying to come off of, the needle, more or less. He heard this place helps, so he's here. He can't sleep tonight. It's his first couple days being clean. He hasn't been able to get to sleep, so I think what you do will help him. You benefit.
When somebody is, I guess is in his system, does it transfer?
It does, but he said right now it's been a few nights since he's been
Since
clean.
he's actually, it needs to be like fresh.
Yeah. He's basically saying like at this moment, this person has had a hard time sleeping. He can't get to sleep. He's been vomiting and whatnot, and he wants to go clean, but he can't afford to go anywhere else.
Right.
Hospitals have been closing down in Chicago, and Ollie's bar has been a haven for people who want to get clean. So one of the things they do here is for those who can't sleep or those who struggle with relaxation, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just feed. It feels exceptionally good to them. It's ecstasy, it's its own drug, and drain them enough, and the lack of blood will help them close their eyes. It's not ideal, and it's certainly not a medical suggested thing, but it works, and it does its job.
Well, I'm hungry and it sounds good, so
It leads you into a back room where you don't know if she's young or old for how the drugs have racked her body. She's thin, and her hair is thin, and her eyes are sunken in, and she is shivering under 3 or 4 blankets on her shitty cot. He looks and he's like, there you go.
Okay. I'm sure this is not the first time I've fed at Olli's bar.
And
Is there like
to Olli and his crew? Well, don't kill him.
Right.
The whole thing with Ollie's bar that you would know is like he genuinely wants to help people, and while you're not sure if this was his idea or not, this has been a regular sort of last ditch therapy for those who can't overcome the withdrawals of the first few nights.
Okay.
He nods to you and he says, "I'm gonna head back upstairs and just head up when you're done.
Cool.
Don't kill her."
I know. Like, get the fuck out of here. I guess I'll kind of walk over
Sure.
to her and I simply say, "Do you have a name?"
She's shivering and whimpering. You're not entirely sure she's even fully cognizant of her surroundings.
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
Okay, then I walk over and I kind of almost predator-like on all fours over her body on the ground, and I whisper in her ear, "I'm Dakota. I will take your pain away."
And you open your mouth to bare your fangs, and you pull the blankets back to sink your teeth in. And you will feed, but not before you see something first. You expect swollen veins, pale skin, maybe even some bruises and scratches. People will do anything for drugs at this point. But she has something interesting on her that catches your eye. A scar right below her left ear. And it is a scar as you run your finger across it. It's rough, raised just above the skin a little bit. But it's the shape that catches you. Might not even mean anything, but at least it's interesting.
What's
The
the
scar
shape?
is in the shape of a crescent moon.
Okay.
And as Dakota sinks her fangs into the neck or shoulder and drink, the camera fades to black. And we pick up next week. Welcome back to the world of darkness, everybody, and more
We
importantly,
did it!
welcome back to Chicago. A very different world than it used to be.
Can we play
Woo.
more? I want to play more.
I know.
More vampire!
I want to do more.
Whoa.
Anyway, I have to be professional now, and I want to play more. Right, yeah, we'll be back next Saturday, same time, 6 p.m. BST, 10 a.m. PDT. You can also find the premiere of this on YouTube tomorrow at 10 p.m. BST, 2 p.m. PDT. That'll be premiering on YouTube, so if you want to go check out the thing live and chat along with the people on YouTube, you can do so. I think the viewers are probably planning to just camp out there and watch it, get the chat reaction. Yeah, anyway, we've got announcements again. Thank you very much, Caldi, for making it possible to do this episode and the support. There's a load of stuff going up on Patreon, including the intro speech by Mathis is now up, that one's free for everyone to go check out if you want to do so. And, yeah, right. I'm going to go read out some tips and bits, but in the meantime, while I go look that up, Mathis, who are you? What are you doing? Where can we find you until next week?
I'm Mathis Games. I tell stories pretty much everywhere. My YouTube channel is based on RP-style sandbox games. I also do Illuminati podcast. We talk about paranormal stuff. We've got a live show October 30th in Boston. $27, only 300 seats. I don't know how many are left. I imagine not too many. If you want to see me, Jesse Cox, Alex Fasciane talk about and make comedy about paranormal stuff for 3 hours, and you live in the Boston area, check it out, illuminatipod.com.
Okay. Miss Magitech, Tracy, what about you?
Hello, everyone. You can find me at Miss Magitech everywhere. I stream. Sometimes I play games. Sometimes I play a lot of D&D offline. But when I'm not playing D&D, I do stream and make some YouTube videos. Just finished Breath of the Wild. It was amazing. So time to start a new game. Can't wait for next week. Yeah.
And Little Red Dot. Chelsea.
I'm Dot. You can find me online as Little Red Dot in all kinds of places. I'm a GM and a digital storyteller. That's all I do is roll dice and play games. Here, other places, just come check it out. Lots and lots and lots.
And
That's,
E.
how about you, E?
Yeah, not
I
last.
always forget when I'm last.
Usually there's always another one. That's why.
Yeah, how about you, E?
Hi, I'm Intermission. You can catch me at youtube.com/Interilissium, where I play games and stuff, and also twitch.tv/Interilissium, where I occasionally play games and also have Rogue Trader roleplay shows on Tuesday and Wednesday. Also tomorrow, reminder, we have some Shadowrun talk. We're going to be doing a talk about Shadowrun 6th edition and so on, so check that out. And yeah, I believe that's it. So, thank you very much for watching. We're going to go record the after show, which you can find on Patreon. And we have a few tips to get through. So, starting off with, I believe the first tip today was Vo 5100, $3.14. So hyped to see the state of our favorite kindred after a 10-year gap. Predictions: Zach's a spy master, Dakota's a hound, Ava's a backstabbing socialite, Olli's a data broker, Cammy's her usual fatale primogen, and Saito is a a sandwich devotee. Okay, that makes more sense than just Saito is sand. They're pretty correct on a lot of them, actually. Thank you very much, Vo. Caldi, $10.32. So hyped. Love me some VTM SOS. Thank you very much, Caldi. And again, thank you for making today's session possible. Dead Talus, $100. Thank you guys so much for bringing my childhood to life and staying true to the dark and gloomy side of the world of darkness. Wait, your childhood was being raised by kindred? I am so sorry. Are you Ollie's child?
Are you actually ruined?
Thank you very much, Dead Talus. And Paladin Hulk, $5.69. It's so great to see Dakota and everyone back. I hope you all have a great time and that your characters make it to the end of the season. That's
Hopefully.
unlikely.
I've got a boat now. I'll run. It's fine.
True.
I'm on a boat.
It's a landlocked lake. How far can you run?
It's the other side of the lake.
The other side, goddammit!
No one owns that territory. That's like just free land. There's probably a fuck ton of werewolves out there, though.
Yeah, actually, this is a good question. Can kindred hit the meld with earth ability meld with earth at the bottom of a lake underwater?
Why not?
That's a really good hiding place.
Yeah.
I know. Why do you think Dakota has a boat?
Yeah, why do you think gangrels are the only real nomadic clan?
I mean, at the bottom of a lake is just such a good hiding place. Anyway, I mean, that's why Dakota smells funky. So, we have Vo again, $1. All hail sexy Norris! I like that up there. That was a good throw.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
that was good.
And Maris Sparhawk, $20. Shout out to Mazis. Awesome job. You inspired me so much as a storyteller. Can't wait to see what else you have planned.
Aww.
Thank you.
And
I'm glad you could take inspiration from my nonsense.
That's it. So thank you to everyone. And thank you to the crazy amounts of gift subs and so on. Those people who've got gifted gift subs, you can totally join our Discord. You just need to go on Discord and do the whole join thing. If you need to figure out why, just go to Google and type how to link Twitch with Discord, and you'll get the gist. And thank you to all the bits as well. Way to go. And we will catch you next week in the World of Darkness.
Goodbye.
He was there, and then he